shadows are growing longer, and we have just 2 laps to settle it all. The green flag will fly on our final green-white checkered attempt. Bradford, Napier, your front row. Then it's Warren, Napier, and Ansley round out your top 5, racing into turn number 1.
You got Warren and Bradford using that inside line. Ainsley right behind them. The 2 Napier machines, they're going to duck low. Jeff's going to leave Justin out to dry on the outside here. As we see, David Bradford is going to be still leading as we go down the backstretch.
Coming 1.5 laps to go to the white flag. Rather, we're coming to the white flag. Almost 3 wide, and it looks like one of the Napiers into the outside wall. It is Jeffrey Napier. We're going to come through turn 4. Only 1 car on the outside line. It is currently Scott Warren. No help at the moment. He might have to be the pusher in this case instead of the one being pushed. White flag at Daytona. David Bradford will be leading. Will he be the one leading in 2.5 miles?
David Bradford leads into one. Oh, and he's going to get hooked. Ainsley hooks the number 46 of Bradford down to the inside of the racetrack, but we are going to the checkers. It's either bring home a trophy or the steering wheel as Warren and Ainsley are side by side. Where does Napier go? He goes high with Warren for now. Now 3 wide with the help of his father on the outside of the racetrack. Down to turn number 3 they go. And now side by side, 4 cars going at it. Will Napier help Napier on the top side? Could father-son do it at Daytona? Whoa, Warren gets hooked! Oh, and a big crash at Daytona. Neither Napier will get it. Colt Ainsley will win at Daytona. I can't believe it.
What a ride. That was, I did not expect that coming at all. We see the 54 on his lid. Oh, Colt Ainsley. I was not expecting him to win that race at all. We see a car upside down. That is the 54 machine of Justin Napier. As we see the 17 of Scott Warren coming across the stripe. Very eventful last 2 sets of corners.
That was absolutely electric, and that what happened there in turn 4 was very reminiscent of what happened in the NASCAR Xfinity Series a couple weeks ago at Daytona, where Chastain got into his teammate AJ Allmendinger. It just seemed like, Ainsley was trying to put his car on the inside of, it would be Warren, but it just didn't seem like there was enough room, and unfortunately he's going to hook him in the left rear quarter panel. And Warren is going to struggle to finish this race, but it's going to be a race win for Colt Ainsley. What a race. What a season opener.
Sound art is a product that is a speaker and it's art. We combine it together and we call it sound art. What makes it so unique that any picture can be your speaker? Sound art gives you the high quality sound without the ugly speaker. This isn't a picture with a speaker, the picture is the speaker. Just imagine your wedding picture uploaded onto a canvas and now it's speaking 10,000 tunes. I mean, it's a very cool concept. What we like so much about it that you can take anything that means something very special to you, upload it on the canvas, have it hanging up in your room, your balcony, wherever you want to put it, and now it's a speaker. I mean, how cool is that? It's something that we have that and no one has. No one has this product. It's just a great gift to give anybody. It's just a neat concept. Around here we say, art never sounded so good.
2 weeks ago, the Superior Class Auto Racing Cup Series opened up its third season from Daytona International Speedway when Cole Ansley claimed the win after a controversial last-lap contact with Scott Warren. Tonight, the series makes a stop at historic Atlanta Motor Speedway, first opened in 1960 and began life as a 1.522-mile oval similar to Homestead Miami Speedway. Though Speedway Motorsports Incorporated's purchase of the facility in 1990 transformed the Speedway into a 1.54-mile quad oval for the 1997 season. Tonight we race on the 23-year-old asphalt known for high tire wear and multiple groups of racing. Welcome race fans to PitStop TV. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. I've got Trey Patton with me in the booth, Trey Shuttlesworth over on social media coverage. I'm Andrew Cardinale IV, and this is PitStop TV's live coverage of Round 2 of the Superior Class Auto Racing Cup Series, live from the virtual Atlanta Motor Speedway for 250 miles at the abrasive 1.54-mile quad oval. Trey, 2 weeks ago at Daytona, it was certainly a doozy. We saw the finish of that not so long ago. If you guys were watching on each of our platforms, you watched the replay of Cole Ansley winning at Daytona. That was a thrilling finish. It was an interesting finish, and it's one that drivers are sure to remember in this series for weeks, months, years possibly to come, because he was known for hooking a couple of bumpers at Daytona, and we'll see if that translates into the rest of the season, as he may or may not be one of those aggressive guys the rest of the year. What that means for Atlanta, though, Mr. Trey Patton, is that we really get to see how these guys are going to mesh with one another. Last week, of course, some new faces as well entering the Superior Class Auto Racing Cup Series. Change things up. They always need a week or so to kind of incorporate with one another, figure out how one another is going to race, and especially this evening where we're going to see how drivers react in racing with Cole Ansley. We're going to see how these guys treat some of those kinds of things.
Absolutely, and we're in such a different atmosphere from coming from a super speedway here to Atlanta Motor Speedway. A completely different atmosphere, as I mentioned. There it's wide open and really no tire wear and a lot of teamwork here. Now this is a driver's track. You have to drive the car to its fullest. You have to make sure that you save your tires, because if you don't, it's really just going to be. It's going to be really a race against yourself, I guess, is really how to put it. More so not like at a super speedway where it's attrition. It's more so just racing yourself and having the right pace to be at the end.
And we'll see who is left around at the end. And these guys have 5 sets of tires to get them to that point. Now, I want to transition straight into point standings because this is going to be interesting. And usually we have leagues open up with a pretty uniform spread of points after week 1. But of course, having stages and paying points for those stages has changed things up. And here we go. Cole Ansley with that 3-point lead already over Chris Mathis, but he does have to start from the back of the field tonight. That is the penalty for all winners in the Superior Class Auto Racing Cup Series. Then you see some of the ties. 4 through 6, they're all tied at 39 points apiece, just 6 back of the leader. And then 8th and 9th, both Jeff Napier and Fred Strayewich are tied at 36 points apiece, only 3 back of that 3-way tie. So this whole top 10 contained within just 11 points of one another, and several of them are going to really mix things up this evening. Again, these guys do have those 6 sets of tires, for them to work their strategy over the course of 250 miles. And that's important at a place like Atlanta, because we've seen in multiple leagues that we've been covering recently, as we get into more of these NASCAR leagues, I suppose, tire strategy at Atlanta is everything. Obviously, you always want to have good tires on your car, but sometimes you just can't. And I would actually also look to the Bluegrass iRacing series at Darlington recently as a great example of some great tire strategy and how these drivers are going to be battling that difference in, just recent racing, I guess. You can go back 6 months, and we didn't have the tire allocation in the sim yet, and now we do.
Yeah, using the proper amount of tires, let me rephrase that. the tire allocations have really changed everything. So how you allocate changing tires and when you want to use them is definitely going to play a factor, because like we said before, 6 months ago, we didn't have that. So we could come in every caution if we wanted to and just throw on a new set of tires and not have to worry about having a tire strategy. But now these guys have to worry about going 163 laps and not using up 6 sets of tires, because we already know after 25 lap run or so, those tires are going to start showing wear, and depending on how hard they're running, maybe even sooner than that.
And here is last week's winner, Cole Ansley, getting onto the racetrack and finishing up some practice. These guys have had now just about an hour as we come to the last 2 minutes of their practice session. So just about an hour to get up to speed, get used to things here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Definitely a harsh transition from Daytona 2 weeks ago. We have a lot of great racing to look forward to, as I believe we're going to Indianapolis in a week's time. So these guys definitely changing things up, getting a variety of interesting racetracks out of the way very quickly, and they have a great schedule to look forward to the rest of the season. We'll talk more about that as the season does go on. It is worth mentioning Hayes Booth leads our practice session this evening. They do have qualifying still to go through, of course, so that could change as far as, who's fast, who's not. Will Jones right up there with him, only 1.5 hundredths of a second off of Hayes Booth for that speed chart lead. David Bradford there as well. Chris Mathis, I also noticed up there, he was one of the more remarkable drivers at Daytona a couple of weeks ago that we wanted to watch out for. Bobby Hamilton Jr., he's actually up inside the top 10, which is good to see, but he is towards the bottom of it down there with Alan DeFries, Cody Harger. So interesting guys that we want to watch out for mixed all throughout this practice session. Chris Johnson is back there around 12th, 13th with Fred Strayway, which is actually side by side with the number 3, Tommy D'Angelo as well, who we saw make a bit of a roar last week at Daytona as well. Trey, I'm just glad to be back racing. Well, obviously we're not racing, but glad to be back with the Superior Class Auto Racing Cup Series, or SCAR for short. I think that's a whole lot easier than saying that every time. And glad that we have some great partners as well, and we'll go into depth on that. We don't have necessarily where each of these vendors are based exactly, or regional chains, if you will, but we know that Waffle House, First Horizon Bank, Whoppers, Zero Bar Candy Bar, Dr. Pepper, and 7-Up are supporting the Superior Class Auto Racing Cup Series, and we thank them for doing so. Of course, Trey, we also want to thank those who support us, being Tucson Sound Art, Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine, and Whiplash Media. Trey, go ahead and tell us about all 3 of those.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Tucson Sound Art, proud sponsor. Your picture, your music. You provide the image you want, and they'll create a beautiful framed high-quality canvas with a built-in Bluetooth speaker. With Sound Art, you get the best of both worlds. Visit TucsonSoundArt.com for additional info. Next up, we have Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy. At Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine, the owner, Ashley Bullier, is a certified micropigmentation specialist who provides professional, safe, and personalized services. You can contact them at permanentmakeupinmaine.com or call or give them a text at 207-358-8683. Again, that number is 207-358-8683. If you're looking for the best solutions for your permanent makeup concerns, give Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine a call today to book a consultation. If you visit their Facebook page, Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine, you can enter one of their monthly giveaways. Enter today, and who knows, you might win one. And lastly, we have Whiplash Media. PitStop TV's new parent organization, Whiplash Media, specializes in various sim racing resources, including paint schemes, stream overlays, iRacing camera packs, and much more. Whiplash Media is also working on their presence in real racing, offering services such as photography, social media management, and public relations. Go to whiplash-media.com for additional information.
Thank you, Trey. And as you saw at the top of your screen, one driver went purple. That was Jason Spear, going up to the top spot so far in qualifying in the number 83 car. So already a bit of a change up from practice, but we still have a lot of cars going on the racetrack and a lot of time for them to do so. So this will absolutely still change before we complete this qualifying session, though he is going to come around turn number 4 and complete his second time lap. Bobby Hamilton Jr. goes quickest before Jason Spear can complete his second lap, and then Jason goes faster on his second lap. So watch for these guys, as actually Jason Spear and Chris Johnson are separated by just well, I was going to say 1/1000th of a second, and then Thomas McMullen goes faster, Will Jones goes faster. So these guys getting some quick times in here at Atlanta.
Yeah, definitely. You're going to see these times go skyrocketing up. You know, looking in practice here, just in comparison, Will Jones, Bobby Hamilton Jr. to the top there. Looking there at his practice time, he had a 29.840, and then his qualifying time, or practice time, and his qualifying time was at 8.76. So obviously going to be a little bit slower in qualifying because not getting up to speed as much. Chris Mathis goes to third.
Let's ride around with one Mickey Spear as he starts his qualifying run. This is his first timed lap, so he's already completed one warm-up lap, and this is his first time around the speedway at full song, and he gets right down to the bottom there in turns 3 and 4. Didn't quite hook that white line like you sometimes want to, but this high downforce package with these NASCAR Cup cars means you pretty much just want to lay in the throttle. You don't really want to lift, as David Bradford goes fastest. Mickey Spear goes 18th on the speed chart so far. In fact, let's go ahead and ride along with David Bradford. Actually, he's going to shut things down. I think that's it for him. So we will catch up then with one of the other drivers coming on the racetrack. How about we do Scott Warren in the 076? We saw him mix things up at Daytona a couple of weeks back.
Yeah, he was definitely mixing things up. Wanted to be up front, and then we saw him get trapped a lap down and was working his butt off to get back into that lead lap position. Had that work out for him, and then unfortunately got caught up in that wreck there at the end. So we see him entering turn 3 and 4 to go to his timed lap here. We see him run up towards the wall, almost hit it, go all the way down to the grass, and here we go, crossing the line for a time lap. That's going to put him 19th.
19th out of 20 so far. We'll now follow up with Steve Murdoch in the number 53 car, and he is one of 3 that have not qualified. Of course, one of those being Cole Ansley, who is not allowed to qualify, actually, since he won a couple of weeks back at Daytona. Looks like Steve Murdoch, Mark Truxell may not get both of their laps in. We'll see if Murdoch does, and he might. He goes 21st quick out of 21, so definitely not the qualifying effort that Murdoch wanted. And, of course, in these 5 minutes, you've got to play the weather a little bit, too, because they are all on the same dynamic weather, meaning you might just get a gust of wind down the back straightaway that helps you out. You might get some cloud cover. The track temp might drop just by that 1 degree, and that might make the difference as Mark Truxell goes to 14th quick to beat out Steve Murdoch's 22nd now. And I think that'll do it, actually. I think everybody has run their qualifying run. Murdoch might be finishing up, and in fact, he goes to 16th quickest, rather, in the number 53, which leaves David Bradford up top the pole position. Trey, what do you say you go ahead and run down the top 10 of our grid?
Absolutely. So starting first, we have David Bradford. Starting on his outside, we have Bobby Hamilton Jr. started second. And third, we have Hayes Booth. To his outside, in 4th position, we have Will Jones. Starting 5th, we have Chris Mathis and Scott Warren, who ended up P6. Cody Harger starting 7th. Thomas McMullen starting 8th. Jason Spear is in 9th. And rounding out our top 10, we have Chris Johnson.
And back in position number 11, we will have Justin Napier, the son of Jeff, that almost had a shot at winning at Daytona 2 weeks ago, rather, I keep saying last week, until that turn 4 accident with Cole Ansley. You have Fred Straywick to his outside, who is in the top 10 of points. There's the father of the two, Jeff Napier, right behind his son in the number 40 and 13th. Starting position, Mark Truxell to his outside. We rode along with him there at the end of his qualifying run. Jean Boraquez in the number 32 car in 15th. It's Steve Murdoch in 16th in the 53 car. Roll back to row number, I got to count 9, is Will Hewitt in the number 7. Tommy D'Angelo to his outside in the 18th position. Finally, to round out our top 20, we have Mickey Spear and Alan DeFries. In the back couple of cars going to be Vincent Short, Terry McFarlane, and Colt Ansley, rounding out a 23-car field at Atlanta Motor Speedway. That time we actually got a grid in before they rolled off on the front stretch, Trey. I think we're doing good so far.
Yeah, so far so good. Always good to get a head start there, so we're not trying to rush things in. But needless to say, cars are rolling now, and I think we've got a show in our hands tonight, and I hope it's a really good showing tonight.
Atlanta always excites. It's always one of those tracks that just gives you good racing in some shape or form. You might have to dig through the field to find it. It may not always be for first position, but there's always a good battle at a place like Atlanta Motor Speedway, much like Darlington Raceway that we've covered a couple of races at recently, and some others. So I'm excited for 250 miles here this evening for the second round of the Superior Class Auto Racing Cup Series. Again, want to thank series partners such as Waffle House, First Horizon Bank, Whoppers, Zero Bar Candy Bar, 7-Up, and Dr. Pepper, of which I have one with me this evening, so an upgrade from Daytona. And Trey, we are getting ready to come out of turn number 4 to take our second green flag of the season. David Bradford on pole position, Bobby Hamilton Jr. to his outside, and they are about to get things going. Out of turn number 4 for the final time before we get things lit up. The green flag flies, and we're racing at Atlanta Motor Speedway.
As we see there, it looks like David Bradford got a pretty good restart there. He's not too far ahead yet, still side by side for the lead. Bobby Hamilton Jr. going to try to use that outside to his advantage. Doesn't quite get the run, got in the wrong groove there. As we see, David Bradford is clear.
Down the back stretch, they go 3 wide off into turn number 3. One of the benefits of this high downforce package for these NASCAR Cup cars, they quickly figure things out, get back side by side, 2 by 2 through 3 and 4. Up out of turn number 4 for the first time this evening. David Bradford might get beat out by Hayes Booth, and I think he does. I think Hayes Booth led that first lap of the evening. Chris Mathis helping him out. The 25, Bobby Hamilton Jr., not much help up there actually for David Bradford. They move backwards on the outside line.
Yeah, definitely. You know, we mentioned last race at Daytona that Chris Mathis was a good guy to be pushing and, you know, a guy to be watching out for. As we see there, he pushed Hayes Booth to the lead, and here he is up front going to take the lead out of turn 4, coming to lap 3. Looks like he's going to get the lead there. Chris Mathis takes the lead here on lap 3.
His car says Miller time. His driving says it's Mathis time as he takes the lead across the stripe that time by. Loses the lead through 1 and 2, though, here on lap number 3, but he should be able to battle and get it back. Meanwhile, they're vying for 3rd, 4th, and so on as Bradford and Hamilton are side by side. They got passed up by Will Jones. Side by side now are the 66 and 076 of Harger and Warren, respectively, and Hayes Booth is going to exit turn 4, still leading now as he leads lap number 3 of 163.
Yeah, definitely a good battle. As you see, you know, the top 8 are within a second of the leader. You know, a little further on back, Fred Straywick, a little over a second behind the leader here. As you see this gaggle of cars, that is the top 10 right there. As we're side by side going into turn 3, you see Chris Mathis trying to use that bottom lane to his advantage. Looks like he might be able to get a surge here. Going to be side by side, dead even as you hit that uneven transition there. Going across the line, I think Hayes Booth still had the lead.
So as these guys settle in, of course, it's always fun to be racing for the lead here at Atlanta and change things up, slide jobs, crossovers, what have you, but this is going to wear their tires out, and you're going to be very, very careful of that, especially if you're in Mathis's position where you're stuck on the bottom side and you can't use the full track out to the top of the racetrack out of the corner, or even if you're in Hayes Booth's position and you can't quite get down to the bottom side to get the full arc, but he does actually clear Chris Mathis out of turn 4, retakes the lead coming to lap 6 of 163. Mathis follows in behind. Will Jones gonna follow right in behind, and now a three-car line for the top spot. You see Bobby Hamilton Jr. has cleared David Bradford. He's got Harger and Warren battling behind him. Then even further back, Thomas McMullen's in that group. Fred Straywick and John Boraquez rounds out the top 10.
Yeah, if I'm Will Jones right now, I'm liking my position right now. You know, I've got not really much to worry about behind me right now. There's enough gap in between, or enough gap in front, and he's able to use the whole racetrack, you know, as you were talking about, to get down to that bottom, to get that right arc in, and to that, using that to his advantage, you know, he's able to use less of his tires up.
The top 3 still single file up out of turn number 4 this time by to complete lap number 7. And now they'll start to just kind of set into a rhythm, trying to save their tires, prepare for a long run possibly. I would hope that we can get at least one long run in, and I think they will here in the Superior Class Auto Racing Cup Series. Do want to talk about the weather these guys are dealing with this evening. It's rather fair for Atlanta, Georgia. 85 degrees, not too hot, but the track temp is hovering right around 108 at the moment, which is a little bit warm, a little bit toasty, pretty calm winds. Currently out of the west at about 8 miles an hour. Things kind of pretty calm here. I guess it's technically Hampton, Georgia, not Atlanta, but regardless, it works out.
Yeah, you mentioned that, trying to get a long run in. As we saw there from that camera shot, cars are starting to get a little bit loose coming off of turn 2, which is not something that's uncommon here. We expect to see that a lot, especially here at Atlanta, using up tires and a hot track surface. This track is going to be very slick. As you see cars slipping and sliding, expect to see that a lot tonight.
You saw Chris Mathis almost get to the bottom side of Hayes Booth into turn 3, and then Mathis just kind of, I don't know, phased off. It was kind of interesting because Hayes Booth actually tracked up the racetrack like he was going to get tight and maybe get into the fence or something, and then Mathis just didn't quite have the gusto that he needed to get up out of the corner and follow him, so he fell back off of him by the start finish. This time, Hayes a little bit wide up out of 4, and Mathis takes advantage of it, actually makes some ground up. Now we have 5 cars in a line.
Yeah, wash up the track. There was definitely not the best thing you could do there. As you see now, they're side by side for the lead. Chris Mathis trying to use that bottom side. He's not going to be able to wash up to get that better run down the back straightaway. You see Will Jones going to be right behind, following in suit. Who's he going to go with? Looks like he's going to try to run the midline here, as they're still side by side going into 3.
Yeah, I'm not sure that Will Jones is really going to pick sides right now. He just wants to get on by the both of them, try and lead some laps. Chris Mathis leads this one, lap number 11 of 163. You see Bradford, Hamilton making some inroads on this gap that they kind of opened up themselves actually at the start, but they start to catch right back up. Mathis gets out to the lead. Booth a bit sideways out of turn 2. Going to lose a spot now to, I totally forgot names, Will Jones there on the bottom side. One car all the way down the racetrack. Who was that? That was Straywich getting out of shape, hangs on to things.
As we see there, Will Jones was looked like he gave Chris Mathis a push there. As we mentioned before, Chris Mathis usually the one doing the pushing here. As we see David Bradford getting back in the mix here, fighting off a surging Hayes Booth on the outside there to get up into 3rd, and Bobby Hamilton Jr. right back in the mix running in 5th.
Watching them fire by our static shots up on the outside retaining wall here at Atlanta. And, well, Will Jones, I'm not really sure where this guy came from. I don't recall this name from Daytona, but he's certainly lighting things up early here at Atlanta, and he is going for the lead already on lap number now 14 of 163, and he's been mirroring these top 2 the entire run so far, and now is finally up to the back end of Chris Mathis, waiting for his perfect opportunity to try and make a move, but he's there, and he is making his presence known.
Making his presence known, absolutely, for sure. You see he's going to check up a little bit there because he almost made some contact with the back bumper there. Didn't want to make any contact there. We're going to see if he gets a good run out of the corner there. He's going to run down to the bottom. Not quite going to get there, but he's setting up the move. And you see David Bradford also trying to use that run, try to use that slipstream, a little bit of clean air that he can try to grasp there. And it's going to help him out as we're on board with him, trying to see what he can get out of it.
David Bradford just riding in 3rd place right now. He technically got 1 lap led there, I guess, the first lap, but has since fallen back into 3rd position. He fell back even further, I think back to about 5th initially, but he has since recovered, got back on by Bobby Hamilton, Hayes Booth as well. Let's talk about that number 2 car because he has really fallen off pace, and this is what I was afraid of. These guys running their tires off, battling for the race lead, and Hayes Booth has started that descent through the field as Thomas McMullen very sideways out of 2, as well as Scott Warren, who's still out of shape entering 3.
Yeah, once that car breaks loose on you, it is a handful to try to get back, try to get the car collected itself. As you saw, he was fighting that car all the way down the back straightaway out of 2, almost into turn 3. Looks like he got it collected there. He's going to fall back to about the 8th spot. So we see Spear falling in suit behind him as we're looking at the 27 machine of... That is...
Fred Straywich, and this is a really unfortunate story for the driver just inside the top 10 in points coming into this evening, who has taken a header, or I guess I guess you'd call it a butter. It doesn't quite work. It's actually a pass for the lead. Will Jones gets on by, noses ahead of Chris Mathis, but I brought up Straywich's car because he is definitely junked right now. Does not have a fast repair to lean on this evening, and is likely written out of this one, but there's no reason to leave or anything like that. Park the car just yet, because with 163 total laps, he's got a lot of time to get some spots back as these two battle up front. Chris Mathis on the outside of Will Jones. Bradford right there with them for third. Hamilton Jr. in tow, and side by side for the race lead once again is Chris Mathis, and he's been here a couple times before, mostly with Hayes Booth, but now with Will Jones as well, who I think has better tires, just can't quite get by the 18 car.
Yeah, trying to use that to advantage. You know, it's one thing to have speed to catch up to someone, but it's totally different to catch up to someone and then pass them right after. So I think if I'm Will Jones right now, I want somebody to use I want David Bradford behind me to help give me that surge, give me that push to get by him. But right now, using that bottom, not being able to trek up to get the full arc in the corner, as we mentioned earlier, is definitely going to eat up his tires.
Will Jones does nose ahead through two that time. Mathis right on his right rear, watching from the onboard of David Bradford, who was a bit sideways that time out of turn number 2. They draw even once again, and this is the best seat in the house for watching these two drivers battle now through 3 and 4. And Will Jones slides up a little bit. Is he going to push Mathis towards the wall? Just a tiny bit, but Mathis gets the run out of the corner and should have the lead at the line, and does, but can't quite clear that 56 back up yet. And it's going to be tough for Mathis to do so this late in the run from the outside lane, because Will Jones can just roll the bottom of the corner so nicely right now. Bobby Hamilton Jr. does get by David Bradford. Wow! The big catch from Will Jones. That was almost trouble for those lead two.
Yeah, almost trouble. You see him get off the gas a little bit there, and you see Chris Mathis able to clear Will Jones there on the outside. And that's just going to help Bobby Hamilton Jr. catch up to second place and try to make a run for the lead.
There's Straywich on the outside, making these guys duck into turn number 1. Thankfully, they get on by. Just an inopportune time to catch him. Straywich was staying out of the way as best as he could. Up on the wall is actually, I hear crashing. I wonder if that was him getting into the wall or somebody else. Regardless, they keep racing off into turn number 3. It was somebody else who spun around, and that is Terry McFarland turned around into turn number 3.
It looks like we just have one car down. As you mentioned, the 99, we're going to see what happened to him. Just looks like he may have gotten loose a little bit, hit the wall, got sent right down into the inside wall. Kind of hard hit, but we're still green nonetheless.
Mathis out of turn number 2, defending still from Will Jones, who's kind of just, I think, settled at this point. You know how I had written Hayes Booth out of this lead run at one point because he started to fall back into the grasp of Thomas McMullen? Well, he's caught right back up to David Bradford, and, I mean, he's just about there. He just needs a mistake out of one of these front 4 in order to gain a position, get back into things. But Will Jones, I'm interested by the fact that he has kind of just waited at this point because he had the car to get on by Chris Mathis. I assume he must have run his tires off, but now he tries to get back to the inside, and can he hang on to things sideways out of turn 2 again? He might give that spot up to Bobby Hamilton.
Yeah, you can see he was definitely trying to push his limits there. As we're going to go side by side there, Bobby Hamilton to the outside line. Will he be able to clear him using the outside? Doesn't look like he's going to do it. They're going to be side by side across the line. Will Jones still going to claim second, but with them battling like that, that's just going to push Chris Mathis ahead by about half a second.
Back on board with Bradford as Will Jones struggles on that bottom side. And at this point, you might want to move up top just so you aren't quite as loose. You don't have to have quite as much wheel into the car, especially on corner exit where that matters most, as Bradford almost gets to the right rear of Jones as Hamilton gets on by for the second position. And this is allowing Chris Mathis to walk away, as you said, Trey, and quite simply, he might be able to just run away into the races. We do have the stage break in the waiting in the wings at lap 50, so we do still have that to look forward to. We have at least 2 cautions by virtue of lap 50 and lap 100, as Hayes Booth very sideways out of turn 2. We still have a 5-car battle, it looks like, just with the addition of Thomas McMullen, with the removal, I suppose, of Chris Mathis as Mathis starts to gap the field.
Yeah, just that lap right there. He gained about 1/10 of a second. Looks like they're starting to run him down slightly, but I don't think they're going to gain that much on them. Actually, I say that, and about half a tenth was lost there.
Watching the field go down the backstretch into turn number 3 from one of the blimps up top, and you see Will Jones still trying to defend third place, but I think Bradford's got the better car right now, got the better tires underneath him, and should be able to get that position with relative ease. That'll drop Will Jones into the clutches of Hayes Booth, who we thought had run his tires off early, but it seems like has actually saved some rubber for the end of this run. We're past halfway in stage number 1, and remember, only the top 5 get points in these stages as opposed to the top 10 in NASCAR, so you've got to battle up to 5th place or better if you want any points, and it follows NASCAR's consistency in that you get 1 point per position within that stage group, if you will, within the top 5. So 5th place gets 1, 4th place gets 2, and so on up until the leader, the stage winner, gets 5 points at the end of each stage.
Yeah, it's definitely keeps you on your toes and makes you want to be in the fight always. That's one thing I've always kind of liked about stage racing, because back in the old points, people would sandbag and wait for the end, but with the point system like this, it keeps you on your toes and makes you want to be in the race the entire time.
Yeah, absolutely, and you can still kind of fall back and fight your way back up by the end of the race, but you're not going to earn maximum points that way. To earn maximum points for a race, you've got to be fighting for the lead all race long. It's just the way it is now, and I quite like it too. It forces you to be honest, forces you to actually race for things for all 250 miles in this case, or 500 in the case of NASCAR Cup races, and so on and so forth. As the top 4 goes single file into turn 1, we've dropped Hayes Booth and Thomas McMullen, and we've regained Chris Mathis in this group.
Yeah, they shoved my words right into my mouth there, as I didn't think they were going to be able to catch back up to him that quick, but it looks like Chris Mathis may have burned his stuff up, but then again, also having 3 cars in a train's faster than having 1, so we're going to see Bobby Hamilton Jr. going to try and surge to the lead here on Chris Mathis using the bottom. Doesn't quite get there. David Bradford following in suit right behind him.
They pass a slow car on the apron down the backstretch. Seems to be the theme with a couple of these stragglers at the end of the field. Meanwhile, this top 4 continues to just run nose to tail. Hayes Booth kind of hanging on to the draft further back there, as Bradford a little bit wide through the quad oval, just getting some air to that nose. And you also wonder, I don't think it's going to be a problem, but if you get stuck up behind somebody for too long, you could actually run that motor just a little bit warm to the point where you might have to duck out and actually get cool air to that motor down the straightaways, even through the corner. Just run offline, just get some air. I don't think it's going to be a problem, but it's a problem at Daytona, Talladega, where these cars are sealed off and it's hard to get air behind somebody. Could be a thing. I don't think it's going to be an issue, but it could be.
Yeah, I think the only time we might see that become an issue today is if, somebody, makes some contact with the wall or, damages the front end a little bit. But other than that, I don't think we'll see any overheating issues. Well, as we're on board with Will Jones right now in the 4th spot, looking at the onboard here, we're going to see Bobby Hamilton Jr. and David Bradford battling for that 2nd spot. We're going to see Bradford use that bottom line to surge in front and clear Bobby Hamilton. And with them battling like that, Chris Mathis is pulled again by 0.4 of a second.
So Bradford up into 2nd, Hamilton into 3rd, Jones into 4th, but he wants to get 3rd back from Hamilton here. And Hayes Booth catches right back up, keeps it a 4-car fight, just changes which that 4th car is, I suppose, as Chris Mathis starts to gap these guys by just a little bit. But, of course, David Bradford is going to try and reel him back in. Hayes Booth, meanwhile, to the inside of Hamilton through 3 and 4, wants that 4th place back and wants to get right back into this fight. Side by side out of 4. Booth a little bit sideways down to the bottom side, hangs on to it.
Yeah, for a second, I thought they both got tight there, and I thought one of them was going to go into the wall. Obviously, that didn't happen. We saw him get a little bit sideways. Nonetheless, looks like Bobby Hamilton Jr. is going to hang on to 4th place. Hayes Booth's going to stay in 5th. We're actually on board with Hayes Booth right now. You see we're looking at the back bumper of Bobby Hamilton Jr., as you're going to see all of the top 5 there go down to the white line and hook it, as we mentioned there. Looking behind, we're on board with Chris Mathis, looking back to the back bumper of David Bradford. Pretty close, but not quite there.
Bradford runs a bit lower, technically a shorter distance, but you might get that run on the top side, and Mathis doesn't really use it to gap Bradford further, but uses it to negate the gains that I think Bradford gotten. This time, though, as Bradford hugs the bottom side, he actually gains a ton through the center of the corner, gets back in behind Mathis, and pushes up out of the corner. That's the big issue with these high downforce cup cars, is getting behind somebody, you just lose all front grip and go sliding up the racetrack. I'm surprised these guys have not tried to pit yet, though. Usually the cutoff seems to be around 30 to 40 laps where you just want to get tires in one of these races, but it looks like they might try and go all 50 laps here to start stage number 1.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking that myself. I thought we'd start seeing cars come into pit road at about 3 laps ago. So when we took 35, I was expecting green flag pit stops to go underway. But nonetheless, here, looks like the only cars that have pit right now was Justin Napier, and he pit 7 laps ago. But he's also 17 laps down. But looks like everyone right now is, as you said, trying to ride it out here as we're looking at the battle right here. Perfect onboard from Will Jones. David Bradford going to go to the inside of Chris Mathis here. I don't think he's going to clear him here. Looks like he's not going to. He might clear him out of the corner. Not quite.
But this is important for Bradford to bring the fight right to the number 18 of Chris Mathis. Challenge him for this race lead towards the end of stage number 1. Make sure that he cannot settle in. He's got to keep fighting all the way through this 50-lap opening stage, and that's exactly what Bradford's doing. Keeping him honest, rather, here at the end of stage number 1. You see some of the rest of the field battling out of turn number 2. Let's try and catch up with at least the top 10 real quick, Trey. Scott Warren heads off into turn number 3 right now, and he's ahead of Cole Ansley, behind Chris Johnson in the number 78, who is battling right there with Cody Harger and the 83 of Jason Spear. These guys battling for 7th, 8th, and 9th, respectively. As actually Spear gets a bit wide in 1 and 2, and might give that spot up to Harger. Ahead of these guys is where you catch back up with the 02 Whataburger Chevrolet Camaro of Thomas McMullen, and even farther ahead is where you get back up to Bobby Hamilton as they lap Boraquez. Is Booth going to get stuck in behind the 32? No. Ducks back out just in time. So these two now just a 2-car fight in 4th and 5th. Meanwhile, the top 3 continue to go at it. Mathis, Bradford, and Jones.
Yeah, looking back there when they were passing Boraquez there, looked like Bradford had a good run going on Chris Mathis, but, using that lap car as a pick, it kind of unsettled his run a little bit, so he had to check up a little bit to try to get around him. So I think he may have had a good shot at passing Mathis there, but unfortunately lap car got in the way.
And I just love being able to look back at a car like this and watch as Bradford struggles to find grip, be it inside or outside or what have you, as Bradford now going to dip down to the bottom right on that white line, almost pulling the Harvick line, but Mathis is just so good at defending right now through the middle of the racetrack and technically the top side of the 2, and gets momentum down the front stretch and kind of just negates any gains that Bradford can make.
See, I'm going to point out, like everyone said at Daytona, that Chris Mathis was the guy. He was the pusher and really good at defending and holding the line, trying to keep the momentum here. And we're seeing that come into play right here tonight. I mean, not even only at Daytona he was doing it, he's doing it here tonight, managing his tires really well and keeping momentum on that high side when you wouldn't really expect it.
Yeah, I'm surprised that Mathis has been able to hold on to this race lead for this long, because he was battling early with Hayes Booth, then battling with Will Jones, now battling with David Bradford. It seems like the 18 will be all used up, but actually as Bradford gets a big run down the quad, well, can he go to the outside of Mathis? That would really thwart his efforts. Almost gets there, but just can't quite get to the top side of the 18 of Mathis.
Yeah, he's trying to search all over the racetrack for grip. As we see, we're looking at the front bumper of David Bradford from the onboard of Chris Mathis. You see Will Jones in the background, still not out of the fight here, as he's actually on the white line there, trying to see if he can get a good run here. Now we're on board at Will Jones. Honestly, really good view here to see how close the battle is for the lead, actually. Because different angles, it's all perception there. You see David Bradford go to the bottom of the track. You see Mathis go up, searching for more grip, trying to get that run down the back stretch. Looks like Bradford's not going to get the run that he wanted. Maybe I spoke too soon. No, he did not, as Mathis surges ahead going into 3.
Nose to tail to nose to tail. as the exit turn number 4, and the top 3 just still riding in a line. Bradford obviously trying to make moves to get by Mathis, just can't quite find what's going to work. This time he's going to try the bottom side one more time at least. It's lap 46 of 163. They just took 5 to go until the end of stage 1. Mathis up the racetrack a bit. Looked like he was tracking towards the wall a bit sideways. Is it 3 wide? And almost from Will Jones. He almost got his nose in there, Trey, and oh, that could have been bad.
Yeah, I saw him going for it, but he thought better of that right there. You know, I'm honestly shocked, you know, with something like that, especially on, 47 lap old tires, 3 wide would not be the move there. As we see, they're still fighting side by side for the lead. They got to be careful to not get, more so David Bradford's got to be careful to not get tight there. You see he gets a little bit sideways, but he kept the car under control for most of it there. And it looks like that right there, Chris Mathis is going to take advantage of that, and he's going to pull down right in front of David Bradford to take the lead.
And you know what? Mad props, mad respect right now to David Bradford for working the bottom side so well and really hugging that inside white line as well as he has been and not getting into the 18 of Chris Mathis because it's so easy to do, but he's not done it yet. We'll knock on wood. There we go, knock on wood before he cleans out the 18 here going for the stage win, but he's just been so good at hooking that white line and just keeping it right on the Harvick line down there. Just the shortest distance around the racetrack is usually the fastest. Obviously, the outside working right now for Chris Mathis and does so at many racetracks, but the 46 just real good on the bottom. Just can't quite clear the 18. That's been the big holdup. He just can't quite get him through the center of the corner and actually clear him by exit because then Mathis powers back on the top side. And with so little time off throttle, it's really hard to get somebody like that.
As you see there, they were side by side coming out of the corner, and then, as I mentioned before, you're going to see these cars break a little bit loose, and that's exactly what happened. David Bradford, you see the front end kind of wiggled a little bit there. So he's going to have one more shot as we're coming across the line to lap 50. This will be the end of stage 1 next lap. Will David Bradford be able to claim stage 1?
These guys all battling for a point apiece right now. You get 5 for winning the stage, 4 for second, 3 for third, and at this point, unless they have some catastrophic mistake, none of these guys will finish outside the top 3. As Bradford actually, I think, might have popped the wall down the straightaway. Looks like Bradford's not going to be able to bring the fight to Mathis. So out of turn number 4 on lap number 50, Chris Mathis is going to lead and win stage number 1. Bradford going to fight back with Will Jones and holds on to second place over Jones. Bobby Hamilton Jr. gets 4th, Hayes Booth in 5th, and the caution flag does fly. So your 5 stage point winners, I suppose. Well, the stage winner is Chris Mathis. The other 4 that get stage points are David Bradford with 4, Will Jones with 3, Bobby Hamilton Jr. with 2, and Hayes Booth with 1.
That was spectacular. I'm honestly shocked that we didn't see anybody come into pit. Like, the only 2 cars that pit during that entire green flag run were Justin Napier and John Boraquez, which were both laps down. So everyone went the distance on stage 1 on those tires, and we didn't see anybody spin out from that. And that right there is exceptional, with the track being as hot as it is. And it just shows how good of a group of guys we have here in the SCAR series here.
Yeah, it sounds weird to use the abbreviation of SCAR, but
yeah,
it's definitely much quicker than Superior Class Auto Racing Cup Series each time. They are going to come around and pit this time by Chris Mathis, the race leader, and stage number 1 winner. We'll try and talk to him here shortly. What a stage 1 for him. Again, he just ran those tires ragged in the early goings, yet was able to hold on to those tires for 41 laps led in the first stage, and somehow hangs on to the stage win, which is very, very important.
Yeah, very important. It's always nice to get those extra bonus points under your belt. Now he's got those extra bonus points, and obviously he's showing he's got some speed here. But now everybody's got speed, and everybody's happy now because they're able to get a new fresh set of tires. So it's going to be about an equal playing field here now.
We're on board with Bradford in the pit lane. We're going to see who pulls away first in this race out of the pits, and Mathis does so. Jones follows, then it's Bradford, then it's Hamilton, but he might get beat out by Hayes Booth, And I think he did. Did Hamilton get fifth? He did. So he did still hang on to that spot over McMullen, but man, Hamilton almost lost even fifth spot to Thomas McMullen there out of the pit lane, but Chris Mathis does exit and retain the race lead, and Trey will get a hold of him here shortly once we track him down, and I'll just hand him right over to you.
Hey, Chris Mathis, this is Trey up in the booth. You got a copy?
Hey, Trey. Yeah, I got you.
Man, you started fifth. You've won stage one. You were using that outside. 42 laps led in that whole green flag run. How was the car feeling with those tires, since obviously no one pit?
Oh, man, it's just it's like skating on ice out here. You feel like Superman about 3 or 4 laps, and it's real easy to burn them up real quick.
Yeah, we were pointing out that last 2 weeks ago at Daytona, everyone was saying that you were the guy. You were the pusher. You were the guy. When you were up front, you were dictating what line to run. And we see that translating here is that you were able to hold the momentum on the outside, and even when you went to the inside line, it worked there. So what can we expect going on further? Are you going to try and save up your tires a little more, or are you just going to kind of run how you were?
I'm going to try to save as much as I can, not get ran over. I'll probably lose a couple of positions right here. I mean, it's just so crucial at the beginning when you got fresh tires to save as much as you can. But the high line, I think it might come in a little bit down here in 3, but in 1 and 2 is definitely, to me, it's the better place to be because it's so loose down there on the bottom coming off 2.
Yeah, we've noticed that definitely coming out of 2. That's where everybody's slipping and sliding a little bit. I know coming out of 4 right here, the transition into the quaddle was a little unsettling. How's the car filled there?
Oh, it's fine right there. I mean, there was a couple times I pushed it in the center of the corner, and then you, of course, push coming off. But I mean, it hasn't really. I know if the track rubber was different, it'd be worse in 3 and 4 than it is 1 and 2.
Right. Well, hopefully we'll be talking to you later on, man. We're gonna get you sent on back up so you can get ready for stage 2.
I appreciate it.
All right, good luck, man. That is Chris Mathis, our stage 1 winner. And Andrew, what do you think we're going to expect out of stage 2?
Not a clue, because what we thought we would expect was a pit stop, and that wasn't true at all. So I really thought these guys would try and utilize at least, right sides or even just left sides or something for a little bit of extra grip in that first stage. They didn't. So that changes that up, and I really wonder what these guys are going to do here in the second stage. I imagine, especially with 5-6 laps less in this second stage because of that caution, they probably won't pit at all now, just like stage number 1, so it should be a mirror in that regard. But then these guys are going to have a lot of extra sets of tires by the end of the race, which, hey, that might be the winning strategy, and they're all pulling it right now because they're only going to be using 2 sets apiece in this first 100 laps, and they have, 4 to go the rest of the 63 to the end of the race. Regardless, out of turn number 4, we will light things back up. We're back racing here at Atlanta Motor Speedway for the Superior Class Auto Racing Cup Series round number 2 at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Starting stage number 2, and Chris Mathis with a big jump.
Yeah, Chris Mathis with a big jump there. You see Will Jones, David Bradford, Hayes Booth up on the outside, riding the wall there. It's all going to be, as what Chris Mathis said, trying to save what you can in the first few laps because everyone, as he said, is going to feel like Superman for the next 3 or so laps. So as we see him, he surges ahead there. Will Jones following in suit. David Bradford in 3rd. Looks like Bobby Hamilton Jr. is going to sort himself out in 4th. Almost 3 wide there across the line.
On board now with Hamilton as he rides in 4th. Looks like he got into the back of Bradford because Bradford has some rear damage to that bumper now as Will Jones goes on the attack of Chris Mathis. He wants that lead, and he wants it early. He's already back to the back end of that Ford Mustang.
You're going to see him go down to the bottom side, but Chris Mathis already there to block the momentum for that move as he treks back up to the wall. You're going to see all 3 of the top 3 do the exact same thing. Chris Mathis still holds on to the lead going to lap 58.
And look at this, Trey. That's a little bit of front-end damage on the 56 car of Will Jones. I think he is the one They got into the back of David Bradford, but he's not allowing it to hold him back right now. He drives to the bottom side of Mathis and drives by the 18 rather easily. I wonder if the 18 cracked the throttle down the back stretch to just facilitate that pass. Will Jones up to P1.
Yeah, just from looking at that there, I think that Mathis may have cracked the throttle a little bit there. Probably a very smart move on his part there. So now he doesn't really have to push to hold the lead. So now he can just follow behind Will Jones and try and save his tires like he said he was going to.
Almost 3 wide there out of turn 2 for these guys further back in the top 10. McMullen down to the bottom side now, the 25 of Hamilton. Goes right on by. Here comes Spear battling with Hayes Booth. And Hayes Booth just not the start to stage number 2 that he would have wanted after a strong stage number 1. We got Cody Harger back here as well in 8th position. Mark Truxell breaks into the top 10 for now. Chris Johnson along with him. And he's got company from the 53 car who almost gets right into him. Steve Murdoch takes that 10th position away. And here comes Cole Ansley, your winner at Daytona, that again, as penalty for winning, not for any of the wrecks or anything, but as penalty just for winning, he could not qualify, had to start from the rear. That's interesting. That is an interesting way to go about that.
Yeah, I mean, as you see here, I mean, from starting dead last, which was, I believe, 23rd, he's already made his way up to, I believe, 11th. So, I mean, he's almost cracked his way into the top 10. Actually, he has. You see, he's had a high of 9th today, currently 11th. So, pretty solid day for him right now. Still a lot of racing left, about 102 laps to go. So, I mean, anything can really happen here as we're on board with Colt Ainslie. You see Murdoch there on his outside with Truxell right in front of him and Harger right in there. So, this is the battle for the top 10.
Cole Ansley slots into 11th position, behind Murdoch and Truxell, who now goes to the outside of Harger, but is actually going to lose time and gets passed up, it looks like, possibly by Murdoch on the bottom side, who had a run, then gets loose, and some smoke there. I think that was just from some iRacing lag a little bit, but Chris Mathis has been unseated at the race lead, as we mentioned a few laps ago. Will Jones up to P1, they battle behind, and look who's up to P3, Thomas McMullen.
Yeah, McMullen having a great showing so far tonight. As we see here, there's actually, we noticed the breakaway there, a 1/10 of a second between Mathis and Jones, and 7/10 of a second between Mathis and McMullen. So they're having a pretty good half a second breakaway, just over half a second, excuse me. So looks like they're not really worried about saving up their tires now, at least from what I'm looking at.
Yeah, I wonder if those few extra laps that they're not having to run here in stage number 2 might just be pushing these guys to really try just a little bit harder at the stage or at the beginning of stage 2. I think that was the freeze drill sideways out of turn 2, gathers it back up, and they get back racing. But Chris Mathis has brought the fight right back to leader Will Jones, and they might be side by side this time out of 4. Mathis gets to the back bumper of that Chevrolet Camaro. Can't do anything with him just yet, though, as the Ford Mustang of Mathis looks low, looks high, and will settle for turn 1.
Yeah, just as I mentioned, the gap, they start to close it. You see Thomas McMullen right at the edge of the picture there. So we're going to look at the static shot coming out of turn 2. Excellent shot there. We're going to see them single file for the most part. A couple cars down on the bottom. They're going to single out. Will Jones still the leader. We're going to see McMullen kind of go up to the middle of the track there, trying to search for a little bit of grip. David Bradford and Bobby Hamilton Jr. going to round out our top 5 there. Hayes Booth, as we mentioned before, started off up front, sitting in 6th right now.
McMullen slow through 2. He's going to get caught up by Bradford. Meanwhile, the top 2 nose to tail down to turn number 3, and they were almost in a bit of an end. Like, that could have been bad if Will Jones had kept coming up and Mathis didn't lift. I think they would have hooked one another and possibly gone careening into the inside wall after contact with the outside there down the back stretch. But they get it figured out, and they keep racing now as Bradford takes 3rd away from McMullen, who's now side by side with Hamilton. This is for 4th position. Hamilton easily just goes right on by the 02, who we saw have issues towards the end of stage 1. Those tires falling off of that 02 earlier on. I think it's going to happen the same way. And once he loses that 6th position to Hayes Booth, we'll be back to the same top 5 that we had in stage 1.
Yeah, we had a brief change for the lead there coming out of turn 2. They were side by side. Mathis had the lead for about a quarter of a second, and then we see Will Jones obviously just surged on right by him. David Bradford, as we saw there, claimed the third position. We're going to see going here into turn 2. We're going to see Chris Matthews use that bottom side to his advantage, trying to get that run. They're going to be side by side going down the back stretch. Will he be able to use that bottom to surge ahead?
Mathis can't quite do anything with him just yet. Cannot fight clear of the 56 car. This brings Bradford and Hamilton right back into it. A battle now amongst the top 4 for the race lead as Mathis and Jones stay side by side into turn 1. And again, with so little off-throttle time, you can't really pull a big slide job like you might have seen a couple of years ago at Chicagoland. I say that, and then, well, Mathis just hooks the bottom side, and he gets right on by Will Jones through turns 1 and 2. McMullen sideways out of 2, and he's going to get passed up, it looks like now, by Hayes Booth. Well, actually, no, Hayes Booth slots in behind him for the moment. Will he drive to the inside? He will. So the two trying to pass the O2 just can't quite hang on to that car for long enough because he gets loose out of turn number 4 that time.
Yeah, Jason Spear was definitely had the best view of that battle right there as he's right behind them. Bobby Hamilton Jr. also right in front of them. You see Hayes Booth trying to use that bottom side to get it gets him sideways again out of 2. As we see David Bradford going side by side with Will Jones for second. Looks like Will Jones is going to be able to go down to the bottom to block that run. But Chris Mathis back to the lead here. Looks like we've got a 4-car breakaway again. Hayes Booth in 5th, leading that little group of cars there. But the top 4 seems to be in their own little pack. As I say that, they start to catch back up.
You've also got the onboard from Bradford down to the bottom right of your screen, just seeing what it looks like from his view while also watching this battle down the back stretch, and they stay single file one more time at the very least into turns number 3 and 4 this time. And Bobby Hamilton Jr., as we'll keep tabs with the lead on that bottom insert. Bobby Hamilton Jr., not a great run at Daytona, didn't quite make too much noise, but this evening, out of nowhere, up at the front of the field and almost got the pole at one point, now battling with Hayes Booth and David Bradford ahead he's in 4th, but trying to better that as, wow, they're going very sideways at a turn number 2. He brings one Jason Spear with him. Spear looked pretty good in qualifying at first as well. Cody Harger here in 8th.
Yeah, definitely had to fight that car there. As you see Harger right behind him. Jason Spear getting up in the mix here in the top 10. Mark Truxell behind them. Chris Johnson also following suit further on back there, about a second behind them. Yeah, McMullen, he's really, from what I've been seeing, he's been fighting that car a lot. As we see there, he's kind of just in his own line there. Mostly everybody's running the high line, so it's kind of interesting to see him running the bottom, wasn't able to get up to the top, so he's just using his tires up more and more.
Yeah, like I said earlier, it's harder to hook that bottom and save tires because you're having to put more wheel into the car up out of corner exit, and that just makes you crank that right front, makes you wear that right front off, and then the car is actually going to get looser and looser because you're wearing the right front, so it's driving now off of the right rear, and with that rearward grip biases, Harger wrecks to his outside, and Harger is going to dip down into the inside wall. It looks like hangs onto that car barely. An interesting rejoin forces Truxell up the racetrack, almost gets Ainslie as well, and more cars going to come on by. It looks like, well, he's actually got a gap behind now once Truxell and Ainslie got on by. Back up to the race lead, it's Mathis, Jones, and Bradford. Back to that conversation, though, about Jason Spear, Thomas McMullen, and that bottom side wearing tires out pretty quickly. You've really got to be careful coming up off the bottom, and actually what McMullen just did wrong is he held the car too far down the racetrack and now takes a very shallow entry as well. You've got to make the most of your arcs on entry and exit not to burn that right front off of your car.
I couldn't have said it better myself. I mean, just he was down way too low, and then as we mentioned before, burning up that right front, and then as we saw there, and just it completely botched his entry to out of 2. And just as you saw there, upset the car, and Harger ended up getting into the wall there. I don't know if that was a reaction to him washing up the track at all, but nonetheless, we are still green after that. I honestly thought that McMullen was going to get caught up from Harger hitting the wall there, but he is by himself running in the 7th spot. But nonetheless, we see Will Jones Still running in P2 as we're on board, looking at that rear chase view of Chris Mathis. You see David Bradford in third there. Hayes Booth back up into the fourth spot as he passed Hamilton for fifth.
And I'm very impressed by the racing so far this evening. This might be another knock on wood moment because, of course, I'm going to say that and they're going to wad it up or something. As actually they go on by Murdoch there in the 53. That's going to hold Bradford up on the top side. Bradford has to get way out of the throttle. He loses fourth position then to Hayes Booth. He's going to have to fight back for third. He lost third and drops into fourth as Booth was very sideways out of the corner. Might not be that hard for Bradford to get that spot back then.
Yeah, definitely right back into the grasp, but try to grab third position back. So we're actually on board looking at David Bradford here in the fourth position, trying to run down that 2 machine. Got an excellent view here on board with David Bradford. You're going to see him try to get on that groove, on that seam right there you see separating the bottom from the middle of the track. Hooks that bottom line, goes back up track into the wall. Doesn't seem like he can get anything done with his run right now.
Yeah, Bradford just has to kind of wait for right now. Meanwhile, Hayes Booth wants to do something with it. He drives right up to the back end of Will Jones in the 56 car again. A newcomer, I believe. I don't remember his name from Daytona a couple of weeks ago. So Will Jones really making waves this evening. Hayes Booth along with him because while Hayes was there, I remember that much, he wasn't really in the conversation for the win last week. And the number 2 car really just nowhere to be found at Daytona. This time, though, he's really making a name for himself, racing Will Jones now into turn 3. He wants to get back into that top spot. He's fighting for second place, but pushes up and loses that shot at second for now. Has to settle for third at lap 80 of 163, nearing halfway.
See, you mentioned using that bottom side, not being able to, to clear that there, using that bottom. He's trying to use up what his tires there. Looks like, I'm not quite sure. Looks like somebody was tracked down to the apron there, but nonetheless, Will Jones, as you mentioned before, not quite sure if he was there. I don't remember him from Daytona, but definitely making a name for himself. Hayes Booth getting back into the mix here. We're coming up on a lap car, so that might
Bradford has to dodge.
Tight. That was very tight there for Bradford and Hamilton, but nonetheless, Chris Jones takes the most of that. Hayes Booth following in suit right behind Will Jones, and that's the battle for the third.
Hayes Booth, a very strong car this evening, just hasn't been able to make the most of it. He was there for a while at the early part of stage 1, then fell back and just never really did recover above about 4th position, ended up settling for 5th in stage 1. Now he's battling back at Will Jones, trying to get up into 2nd position, much like his number. But Chris Mathis, Will Jones are just too good right now. I'm not sure it's going to be very easy to get past either one of them, no matter what position it's for. They could be wadded up and it could be for dead last, and I'm not sure it would be all that easy to get by either one of these two. Bradford in 4th, and you're just kind of watching all of this happen along with Hamilton in 5th. Oh, it's actually a little bit of contact there, and that dents the rear end of Jones's car.
I was about to say that he was running really close there. I wasn't sure if he was going to let off the throttle there. Do you see it more so just damage to the back end of Jones's car there? Because, you see the front end of these Camaros. It's just not Camaro, the Mustang, is a flat, more so the Camaro obviously being a little more curved. So I don't think that's really going to affect Jones that much other than getting him out of his groove. They're going to be side by side. You see Booth get a little bit sideways there. As David Bradford getting into the mix, they're going to be side by side with Bobby Hamilton right behind him.
Yeah, I tell you what, thank God for NASCAR bumper bars, am I right? Because that helped Hayes Booth not dent the front end of his car right there, even though virtually I think that NASCAR bumper bar in the front makes a big difference when you make contact with somebody as opposed to the rear. You see the dent on the back end of Bradford's car as well as Booth very sideways out of turn 4 again. We should ride on board with this guy and see if he can hang on to it here as we near the end of stage 2. We'll come around out of turn 4 and take 15 to go in the second stage this evening.
Yeah, this right here is a great shot, so you can see the difference in the transitions, all the bumps in the track. So here, you see the shot here. You're able to see what he's doing, how he's able to do it, how he's arcing the corner, holding that seam there up top. You see that crack in the track. You see him cranking that wheel. There he goes, gets sideways again. Excellent shot there. Just these cars, especially on a worn out track, I believe the surface is 23 years old. So I mean, this thing eats up your tires, and you're chasing the car the entire time, and it's a fun track to race for sure. But definitely seeing guys chase the car like that, it makes it a lot more interesting to watch and to race itself.
Hayes right back down to the bottom side behind Bobby Hamilton, who also I think was tagged in the rear at some point, because it looks like his left rear is just a little bit out of shape. Regardless, Hayes Booth hanging on to his car for now. Really impressed by the fact that he's able to formula drift that thing up out of the corners and not do any damage to himself or anybody else, because he's been very sideways this evening. Just seems like the 2-car is running those tires ragged. He'll have to work on that, I think, for stage number 3 on the evening. I really wonder what the strategy is going to be in that stage, Trey, because, of course, these guys have just been running these stages out as, I see Hayes Booth. I heard you kind of key your mic up. I see him up at the top of the racetrack, hangs on to it for now, but he will likely fall into the clutches of Jason Spear, and just as soon as I said he wasn't damaging his own car, he does.
Yeah, he definitely got a little tight. I don't know if he got tight or just may have lost the car a little bit there, but regardless, he went up and nicked the wall a little bit. Bobby Hamilton Jr. trying to go to the inside of David Bradford here. That would be for the 3rd position here, as you see him ride that white line, able to get up there, as we saw, I think it was McMullen there you saw earlier, was not able to get up, and it messed up his exit out of turn 2. As we see here, Hamilton also going to go back down. You see Bradford riding that white line. Will Jones also in front of him. Definitely from this shot here, you can see where the contact was made. We're going to see Hamilton go to the inside of David Bradford again. Not quite sure if he's going to make it work. Looks like he's not going to make it work. Gets a little sideways there, and there further on back, you can see how far back that Hayes Booth has fallen back.
Back to the conversation of strategy for stage number 3 here, Trey. I wonder if they're going to split it up just into that one pit stop and just have extra tires if they need them, or if these guys might just pit for nothing but tires and extra time and try to just be quick. I really do wonder what these drivers are going to do. Obviously, they're saving their tires right now, and they can go for at least 50 laps, so I wonder, somebody could play a strategy to just save tires and go the entire distance to the end here in stage number 3, or I think the most popular strategy is going to be a one-stop, split it right down the middle, right around lap 130 or so, as it sounds like we have a car coming into the pit lane. Justin Napier does, and, well, unfortunately, he's already 17 laps down, so it doesn't matter much in the grand scheme of things. After a really good run at Daytona, almost had a shot at winning, not a great evening here at Atlanta.
Yeah, for sure, not a good run there. As we see Bradford, you see get a little sideways there, and when it was coming to strategy call there, me and you were kind of thinking alike there. I think they're going to run it to the end of the stage there and then probably split it in the middle at about lap 130. From a driver's standpoint, that's what I would do, because obviously it's not going to be the faster, better strategy to stay out on old tires the entire time. So if I'm out on 50 lap old tires at the end, somebody pits and they're on 20 lap old tires, obviously they're going to be faster. So it's going to be all about managing your tires and then obviously figuring out your strategy.
Well, with just a difference of 13 laps, why not pit in these stages as well? I'm interested by these guys' decisions not to come in either one of these stages so far. Again, none of the leaders have decided to come in for any kind of service. Hayes Booth, it looks like, side by side with Jason Spear through 1 and 2, just like our leaders, Will Jones and Chris Mathis. They stay just even with one another through the corners. Now Mathis, a bit of a run down the backstretch, but you'll see Jones equal that back up, running the bottom side in the corner. Actually, a little bit tight there in center, couldn't quite point the nose correctly and lost a little bit of time. That might give Mathis the sole lead back into 1. No, not at all. Will Jones just hangs right there with him.
Yeah, definitely an exciting battle here. That is for the stage win. Reiterating back to that battle, as we see Jason Spear, as you see on our leaderboard on the side there, got past Hayes Booth. That was the battle for 5th place. So that was the last position for stage points. So as we see here, they're still side by side for the lead. Chris Mathis trying to use that outside. We saw him make it prevail in stage 1. Will he do it again? they're going to get a little sideways there. Chris Mathis is going to use the outside there to his advantage there. And it looks like we're catching up to John Boraquez. It looks like he's going to stay high for the leaders here. Looks like he may have nicked the wall a little bit there. They get on by scot-free. Looks like everyone is going to keep the car straight out of turn 2.
Mathis now into second place. Maybe gives a shot on the shorts. Not quite to Will Jones. Now falls back into the clutches of David Bradford. You see the 46 cars on board on the bottom right of your screen as he nears the back end of Mathis down the front stretch. So a change up at the top position now with 4 laps to go in stage number 2. But Mathis going to fight back. Gains a little bit there on corner entry, but he is driving into the corner so hard that he gets reeled right back in on corner exit.
Yeah, he's able to execute corner exit very, very well. Probably one of the better ones in the field to execute that there. We're coming out there. Looks like he's not able to get much of a run there on Will Jones there as we come to lap 98. 3 laps to go in the stage. Will Jones gapped by about 0.2 of a second. I wonder if David Bradford is going to try and get the move on there, as well as Hamilton Jr. there, sitting in 4th. Kind of far back right now to make a move, but right now I think if it stays like this, I think Will Jones has got the stage win in the bag.
Now so fast, coming to 2 laps to go in stage number 2, and Mathis, I mean, he gained a little bit. Again, he's really driving into the corner right now. He's not really thinking about corner exit, where you got to get back on the throttle and make the most of it down the straightaways, and he's losing time every corner exit. He's throwing time at the window, and I think he can drive back up to Will Jones. He's got the car to do it. Just doesn't have the tires right now, and the way he's driving into the corners, it's not helping him as he's coming to the final lap of stage number 2.
You want to talk about using up time here. Just looking at the difference in Chris Mathis's last lap time was almost a 32-second lap. His qualifying lap was a 29.9. His last lap just now that he crossed was a 31.9. So as you see there, it's about 2 seconds fall off. So, I mean, that shows how much these tires are being used there. But nonetheless, this is the final lap of stage 2. Looks like Will Jones, unless he has a major hiccup here, will clinch stage 2 and get those 5 bonus points.
Out of turns 3 and 4 for the final time in stage number 2. To complete lap 100, Will Jones wins stage 2. Chris Mathis second place. Then it's Bradford. Hamilton Jr. snags 4th, and Jason Spear hangs on to 5th spot and gains a stage point. That's going to help even him up so far with Hayes Booth in the number 2 car. So Jason Spear moving his way up the standings by virtue of that. Meanwhile, Will Jones equals Chris Mathis there, and they were 1 and 2, I believe, right, in stage 1. So they just changed things up. So right now they're even on the night as well. We'll get to talk to Will Jones after their pit cycle. I wonder if he's going to up to repair that damage though, because he's got nose and rear damage.
It doesn't seem like it's really affecting him right now, so I really wouldn't worry about it right now. Track position is key, always. So especially at a place like this, if he's able to keep the lead and stay up front, I wouldn't even really worry about it, because right now it doesn't seem to be affecting the performance of that race car.
You see the iRacing pace car picking up the field, and we didn't really get to go through much of the field in that stage because everything was just so tight up front. But the rest of your top 10 going to be Hayes Booth, Thomas McMullen, Chris Johnson, Scott Warren in the number 076, and Cole Ainsley makes it up into the top 10. But again, only the top 5 get stage points here in the Superior Class Auto Racing Cup Series. So Will Jones gets 5, Chris Mathis gets 4, David Bradford gets 3, Bobby Hamilton Jr. again gets 2 to bring his total to 4, and, well, the 83 car of Jason Spear just gets the 1.
So going here, we're going to be watching our timer here.
Whoa! What was that out of Will Jones? Just completely missed his box and gets into the wall of Hayes Booth's box, and I'm not sure Will Jones can reverse and get back into his box here. That's a precarious situation. Is he lodged in the wall?
That I'm not sure. That is not ideal, and especially coming from the lead,
Finally
he is
fires
able to back up.
Oh, this is the worst for Will Jones.
Now Now this is where you're already in the box. You've already lost everything you got. Depending on how much damage you got, I would just go ahead and fix it now. But oh my goodness,
Wow.
that is not what you want to see. Oh my.
And it's going to be tough to fight back now without a caution. If this goes green just like the first two stages, it's going to be real tough for him to fight back up to that top spot. Arguably a winning car, this number 56 of Will Jones. And now, well, we're going to talk to him. I wouldn't be surprised if he's a bit fired up. This will be interesting, but we'll go ahead and we'll try and track him down right quick and speak with the driver of the 56. This is it's going to be something. Will Jones, we did just watch the pit stop. I'm sure that was pretty frustrating there. But you had some damage. I assume you wanted to get repaired anyways this stage break?
Yeah, I got in there and wheel hopped it with the clutch. With this no clutch rule, this is the first race I've run with it, and I wheel hopped getting in the pit box.
It's real easy to do when you're coming in and having to stop right on a dime. But let's talk about those first couple of stages. You're right there with Chris Mathis through stage 1. You finally get by him there at the end of stage 2. You guys have a dogfight there for a little while. We end up getting that stage win. Obviously, now you have a mountain to climb. Do you think you can get back up there here in stage 3?
I don't know, man. It's tough passing. You get on the low line, you get a little bit loose up under everybody, so it'll be... I really put myself behind the 8 ball here, so we'll just have to see how it shakes out.
Yeah, again, it's going to be a tall mountain to climb, a very tall order this evening, but you've had a great run. I don't seem to remember your name back at Daytona last week. I don't think you were there.
No, I didn't run last week. I'm just kind of running like a part-time schedule, kind of. So.
Well, for points or not, this is a solid debut here, Will. Anybody you want to give a shout-out to this evening on the broadcast?
Yeah, thanks to Bobby and David for putting this league on, and enjoy racing it with them. And, when I can, I wish I could do it full-time, but just, I got some stuff goes on Sunday nights that I can't commit to full-time, so.
Hey, fair enough. Real life takes precedence. You're doing great here, Will. Hopefully you can fight back up there by the end of things. It was very exciting to watch you and Chris go at it. Best of luck to you. We'll see if we're talking to you here in 63 laps.
Yeah, man. Thank you. And thank y'all for the broadcast. Y'all do a great job.
Thank you very much. And that's Will Jones now in 16th position. That's going to be tough to fight back from Trey, but he's got the car to do it. He's just got to be able to put himself in the right positions through this third stage of the evening. Really tough to see that for somebody who was doing so good in stage numbers 1 and 2. But such is racing sometimes. Make a mistake, get out of sequence with things, and that is how it goes. Meanwhile, newcomers to the front of the field are Chris Johnson in 4th position. See the number 78 there. And the 076 of Scott Warren in 5th. So really shaking things up here as Will Hewitt also gets into the top 6. And we'll come to our restart this time by David Bradford. Won the race out of pit lane. We're coming to lap 106 now of 163. Just short of 60 to go. A very slow start from Bradford. Mathis, I wonder if Mathis had the lead. He probably did and chose the outside. Somebody called that one wrong.
Yeah, nonetheless, very good restart by Chris Mathis, regardless of what that was there. I mean, it's not like he jumped the restart, was in the restart zone there. So he's going to surge to the lead there. As we've seen him do most of the race here and able to hold the lead there. Looks like David Bradford going to be right on there. Looks like we have some cars may have gotten some black flags there from hearing on race control. But nonetheless, David Bradford still holding on tight here. Chris Mathis, as we saw early on before, going to be up front there, trying to hold up and try to save his tires here for the last, looks like 55 laps or so.
Down the back stretch they go, mostly single file up at the front. Scott Warren up into 4th place, brings Chris Johnson into 5th. Will Hewitt, they're in 6th, now into 5th as he battles to the inside of Johnson, side by side out of 4. They bring the 02, rather, of McMullen up there with them, and they fight off into turn 1 as Hewitt hooks the bottom side, almost gets to the back end of Warren. These guys, I'm not sure if they fought quite like this in a run early on, so they're taking full advantage of the opportunity right now as Bradford fights back to the inside of Mathis.
Yeah, he definitely used that inside to his advantage. Bobby Hamilton Jr. right inside behind Bradford. Looks like he's going to wash up to the top side and claim the lead over Chris Mathis using that high side. Not quite to his advantage yet, but nonetheless, I spoke too soon. They're going to be side by side coming out of 2.
Side by side, Hewitt's loose. You see Hamilton there in the middle now, tracks down to the bottom side, and he's going to fall in behind Bradford. Warren's with them. He's in 4th and hasn't lost any ground on these guys. Johnson also in the mix, and they're just kind of hanging out at the present moment. Let's see, we got Will Hewitt, we got Chris Johnson, McMullen's in the top 10, Hayes Booth is still there, Spear and Jones are going at it. It's actually Will Jones back into the top 10, but we cannot leave this lead battle because Bradford fights back to the inside of Mathis. You see Hewitt down to the bottom side of the racetrack. He gets loose out of 2, now 3 wide off into 3, and they'll sort things out behind, but we cannot leave these lead 2 as they go at it side by side out of 4.
Yeah, Scott Warren back up in the mix now, running P3. Bobby Hamilton Jr., running in 4th. But nonetheless, good to see Scott Warren back up into the mix here. Chris Mathis still trying to use the outside to his advantage. But nonetheless, David Bradford going to surge back up to the outside to block that momentum as we go into turn 3.
Bradford has the lead for now, side by side, inches apart through 3 and 4. They sort things out for the moment, but I wouldn't be surprised if we have contact amongst these front runners at some point. Not necessarily these front 2, but everybody's just so close right now. They know it's go time, and Scott Warren up into 3rd. Where did he come from? He gets to the inside of Mathis, follows Bradford on the bottom side, and is battling for 2nd place.
Yeah, good to see Scott Warren getting up into the mix. Bobby Hamilton Jr. You see Chris Johnson also right behind him. Look at that. Will Jones already back up into the 7th spot after that interesting pit road thing that pit stop. You saw him, he said he will hopped and currently in the 7th spot, so definitely a really good surge for him early on here.
Whoa, everybody gets loose all at once. Hamilton, Warren, everybody just gets sideways out of the corner. Everybody hangs on to it for now as they pass the slow car. I think that was the 015 possibly, a Vincent Short going one more lap down. Everybody's just all in one big gaggle. It's hard to call it. Will Jones, Chris Johnson, contact. We have a big wreck. Big crash.
Big pile up, one up and over flipping.
Oh my gosh, DeFries. Up and over. This is a big mess. Hayes Booth involved and many more. This is a big one.
And that happened right in front of Will Jones.
Well, started with him. I think he actually made it 3 wide to start that all off. You see it behind our ticker right now. Oh, actually, yeah, so he gets 3 wide, and that gets Johnson further out of control, and then they all just pile in. Oh, my gosh, somebody was in the catch fence. DeFries goes over. Truxell, I see Napier in it. Oh my gosh.
Off of that angle, it looked like there might have been a net code hit from Will Jones that sent him up into the wall. I mean, just from that angle, that's what it looked like. I'm not quite sure if that's actually what happened. We'll get another view of that.
So, I wonder if the 78 checked his steering. I think that's what it looks like to me, and we'll watch it a few more times. Just keep an eye here on the 78 of Johnson as all of this happens. Everybody gets loose there at the same time out of 2. But, so, I mean, Jones gets the fence out of 4, and that stacks them up. And Jones does the right thing, I think, and goes to the inside. He's trying to fill a gap, and he's just trying to race. And then Johnson, I think it's like he just checks his steering. There might have been some netcode contact. It's so hard to say. And Will Jones was so lucky not to get caught up in that any further, as, wow, that was the 7 of Hewitt that went up, and he was the first car up in the air, and then DeFries joined him. That's incredible. I want to get the onboard here, DeFries, as he piles into things, and I see Murdoch involved, and so many more. This is a big mess.
Yeah, most definitely a big mess. As you see, we're on board with Alan DeFries. You see the lap car on the bottom. So we think everything's going to get sorted out. You see Jason Spear up on the top side. The 3 wide there for a second. Bam, bam, bam. Nowhere to go. Hits the outside wall, and then, oh my gosh, what a wild ride.
Jeez, that's something. That is an insane ride down the front stretch and into turn 1. What do you say we get the onboard as well from the 7, if I can track it down? Well, that was a little bit late, so we'll back up a little bit further and get a better look at things. This is Will Hewitt in the number 7 Chevrolet, and man, this is a big, big mess.
Yeah, big mess is an understatement there. You see he almost gets by and just clipped the outside wall there, and just you see someone, I'm not quite sure who initially hit him after he hit the wall and just sent him up for a ride. Oh, that kind of just makes my stomach turn just watching all this action go under like that, because motion sickness, I hope none of these guys are running VR.
Yeah, for sure. That would be something. I don't usually get motion sick watching iRacing, but that time, whoa, that was something. What do you say we dial up a number 46 car, David Bradford, though, on the far side of that incident? Because we've talked to Will Jones, we've talked to Chris Mathis, we haven't talked to the other guy who's been in there for all the fighting so far, so I think we may as well dial him up, and Trey, I'll give him to you.
Hey, David, this is Trey up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
So far, you've had 3 laps led during the course of the race. You're currently running, I believe, second. And, you know, the tires, I've actually been shocked that you guys are actually running. We expected you guys to come into pit road about every 35 laps or so, but you guys have proved us wrong by running both stages out full. And then, so we see here, you guys, you know, pitted obviously with that yellow. So is that going to be the strategy now? Is just pit on the yellow, or are you guys going to try and ride it out?
Yeah, man, you can't make up the time that you can under green stopping, you know, on lap 35. 'Cause it was something I considered, but you just can't make up that amount of time at the end of the stage. You have like 2 second faster tires, man, but by that time you've worked yourself back onto the lead lap, but that's all you've done. You still got to go and pit again because you don't want to go against these guys on 15 pressure lap tires. I mean, we got our hands full as it is.
Right. Well, as we see here, we got about 46 laps to go here. And it's 1 to green, so we're going to get you back up there. Hopefully we'll be talking to you at the end of this thing.
Appreciate it, guys.
All right, that is our second place runner, David Bradford.
And so we'll let him get back to work in the number 46 machine, and we appreciate everybody's time this evening. I know we kind of intrude on what they're doing under caution here, Trey, but glad that they're all willing and usually rather excited to speak with us in some regards. So I don't think they usually ever mind it, but we still want to get them back to what they're doing before too long. Scott Warren, this is the biggest surprise to me in this top 5 because we've seen each of the other 4 all evening long, but Scott Warren in third place is going to look to shake things up on this one, coming to lap 119 of 163. And they get right back at it. They did pit under this yellow. They did get fresh tires. Looks like everybody came in. So they're all reset with fresh tires to go to the end. I'm not really sure how many laps that is to go. I'm going to have to count real quick. I think it's in the nature of 45, somewhere around there.
Yeah, that sounds about right for sure. But nonetheless, Scott Warren, you know, we haven't really talked much about him up until about 10 laps ago. You see him running in the 3rd position, and after all that mayhem, Will Jones finds himself back into the 4th spot, battling Scott Warren for 3rd.
And Will Jones was arguably the catalyst in that incident down the front stretch that led to so many drivers going up in the air and hard in the wall. We now only have about 12, I think. Yeah, 12 in the lead lap, and that was a massive one. Again, Will Jones, arguably the catalyst there, gets through it just barely and is now fighting into the top 3. He's trying to get on by Scott Warren. Can't quite do it that time. He's got David Bradford there as well in this fight, but Chris Mathis actually trying to maybe check out on these guys and take the field to Applebee's for a nice steak dinner afterwards.
I see what you did there. But nonetheless, you see Will Jones going to the outside, using that to his advantage. I think he looks like he used the outside and cleared. Now he's trying to run down Chris Mathis. An exceptional move, power move to the outside there to reclaim second.
Will Jones now to P2. Scott Warren follows in third, tags the outside wall. Bradford tracks up to the outside across the start-finish. We've got Hamilton back into fifth, McMullen in sixth, Spear in seventh, and look at this. I'm not sure that Chris Mathis thought that he'd be seeing Will Jones quite this quickly, but he does. Right out in his rearview mirror, he's got that 56 car filling things up once again.
56 car definitely up into the fight here, but Scott Warren is not saying goodbye. He is holding on to this third spot, not making it easy for Will Jones. As you see, he is right on the rear bumper of that 56 machine. Going to give him a good push going into turn one. You see they're going to check up slightly there, but he's not too far off of him. They're all going to go down, paint that white line. Scott Warren got the better run out of the corner. Is he going to go to the bottom to try to get him into turn three? Yes, he will, but I don't think he's going to get it done quite yet.
You can see the bottom right, that little insert of the battle from the onboard of Warren's perspective, and man, that's so cool to be able to watch two shots at once and see how things are looking from a couple of different angles. Is Will Jones, I'm not really sure how he's doing it. He's got damage to the front and rear. It's not too heavy, but it should theoretically still hinder that 56, but he's just so good. He's just, I don't know, he's better than most of the rest of the field for sure. I think the only drivers that are really with him are Chris Mathis, David Bradford, maybe Bobby Hamilton right now. I mean, it's just, the 56 is so good on short and long runs. I mean, he brings the battle to Chris Mathis early and then passes him late. It's incredible.
Yeah, Will Jones is definitely putting on a clinic out here. I don't know how he was able to make up all those spots that quick on that restart, but nonetheless, as we see here, he was definitely one of the fastest guys that we said before, and he's definitely putting that on display tonight. He's running down Chris Mathis for the lead, but we still got about 40 laps to go.
We haven't really got a chance to go through much of the field, so what do you say we go ahead and give it a shot right now? Let's go from, well, we would go 15th up, but unfortunately Hayes Booth is done, so we'll get 16th real quick. Mickey Spear, he's actually in the pit lane. He was one of the other cars involved in that incident down the front stretch. Chris Johnson has made it back onto the racetrack, though, and the number 78 Ford Mustang currently running in 14th. He's been as high as 4th, but didn't quite last, and he was the other catalyst in that big incident, just unfortunately not going to work out for him. John Boraquez, we've seen a lot of him as a lap car this evening. One of the other monster machines, currently in 13th, actually one of the highest spots he's been in, but he has been up to 10th at one point this evening, as low as 20th, just kind of routing around, much like Daytona for Boraquez in the number 32 car. Cody Harger, though, look at him, he's up into 12th after, he was running pretty decently there at the start, then gets caught up in a wreck, and it's a decent recovery, all things considered. He's on the lead lap, which is rather important. And if a caution comes out and gets more damage repaired, get right back into it. Into 11th, though, Steve Murdoch, one of the few Toyotas in the field in the 53 car. He's also looking rather stout. Again, gets a lot of damage in that incident, but a decent recovery, or at least holding on to things right now. I say that, and he gets a bit sideways just behind Jeff Napier in 10th.
As we see Jeff Napier here on board running that Waffle House scheme. Doesn't look that bad. Looks like he may, I'm not quite sure from the angle I'm looking at, he might have some damage, but nonetheless, yeah, he does have some damage now that I'm getting a closer look at it. But Murdoch not letting him run away too easily there, and he's right on the back bumper of the machine of Napier. Further in front of them, we have Tommy D'Angelo running that 3 machine, currently sitting in 9th. Haven't heard much of him tonight. Been pretty quiet. Had a high of 7th place, sitting in 9th right now. Pretty solid night for him so far. Jason Spear currently sitting in 8th. Started 9th with a high of 5th. We're going to go up further through the field. We have we're looking at Jason Spear. We have McMullen right in front of him, sitting in 7th. Colt Ainsley in 5th, and Bobby Hamilton Jr., as you see right in front of McMullen, sitting in 6th.
There's Hamilton Jr. Fights back now at Well, trying to get up to Cole Ainslie, who was broken into the top 5 for the first time this evening. How about that? Our Daytona race winner that had to go to the back of the field because of, that's just the penalty if you win here in the Superior Class Auto Racing Cup Series. He started from dead last, 23rd. He's up into the top 5 now as we near the final 30 laps. That's a solid run there for Colt in the number 86 car. Just ahead of him, David Bradford in the 46 machine. He's led laps. He started on the pole. He's been just about as we could have asked him to be in the 46 car. Just hasn't quite led all the laps he wanted to. He's been there. He's fought for it. Just maybe beat by just a little bit by those top 2. But before we get to those top 2, of course, we want to talk about Scott Warren. Mr. Where did he come from this evening? Try to play like Kevin Harvick, who I'm not sure how he's doing at Vegas right now, but I'd imagine he's probably leading the way. I think Warren's trying to be just like him and get up there. A little bit wide out of 4, but he's just tracking right in behind these top 2, and I don't have much else to say about him because he just kind of came out of nowhere and suddenly is looking pretty solid. He did start 6th, though, so not a very bad starting position. It doesn't list his lowest position this evening. Not really sure why. But, hey, still a great run going here for the 76 car. Meanwhile, the top 2, we've talked about them all night long. We don't have to give them a spotlight, but Will Jones does lose a little bit of time to Mathis as they're going to lap Chris Johnson. Flashbacks here for the 56, I suppose, as he pulls right up and by the 78 car.
Yeah, definitely didn't want to have any contact there again. But nonetheless, Chris Mathis still leading the way. Will Jones right behind him, as we mentioned. Scott Warren get a little sideways out of the corner. David Bradford trying to capitalize to see if he can gain a spot out of that. Doesn't look like he can do so. Scott Warren going up the track a little bit, trying to see if he can find a little bit more grip to catch back up to the back bumper of Will Jones, but doesn't quite seem to get it done there.
I've been informed, as I was talking about Kevin Harvick possibly leading the way at Vegas. It's not at all that way. I'm not going to spoil who won in case you haven't been able to see yet, but I'm surprised by that. Anyways, Chris Mathis leading the way here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. It's now lap 136 of 163. Somebody I thought was loose there out of turn 4. Looks like they gather things up. Actually, it might have been Ainsley, who now falls back into 6th spot behind Bobby Hamilton. He had made that pass for 5th and now back into 6th position. Meanwhile, I'm just not sure there's any beating the 18 car. He's just too good. Short run, long run, doesn't matter what it is. And really the only car who's been able to get to him has been Will Jones, who rides in 2nd place, but I don't know if the 56 is quite good enough.
I'd say he's good enough, but at this point now, he had to use up a little bit more of his tires trying to catch back up through the field. But I think they pit since then, so that might not be an accurate representation of how to put that. But from looking at it now, Chris Mathis is definitely the car to beat. Will Jones trying to get it done, but we still got 25 laps to do to see what can happen here as we see David Bradford trying to make a run on Scott Warren for that 3rd spot.
And it's going to work for now as Warren, it looks like, is going to lose 3rd position to David Bradford. The 46, again, looking great, just can't quite close it out. Meanwhile, Warren somehow fights back in front of David Bradford out of turn number 2, gets 3rd spot back, and the 076, I guess, is declaring war on that position. He just will not give it up, and man, this is a great battle.
Oh, for sure. This is definitely a great battle. I'm glad we're able to capture this right now, because the battle for the lead right now is not really a battle. So the battle for 3rd is really the battle on track right now. As you can see, looking on our leaderboard on the side, looking at the gap between position, you see Bobby Hamilton Jr. not too far out of the mix. So trying to catch back up. Looks like Scott Warren's going to use that seam to his advantage, trying to get to trek up to the wall. Looks like David Bradford's going to use that bottom more so to his advantage. I thought the high line would have been the better line there, trying to get the momentum, but as we're going to pass a lap car, not quite sure who that was, but looks like Scott
Warren's
Warren's
Vincent Short.
Vincent Short. But Scott Warren, as you see, got a little sideways there out of turn 2. They're going to be side by side going into 3.
So side by side they go once more out of turn 4. This time Bradford rolls reverse, has gotten to the bottom side of Warren. And here comes Bobby Hamilton with a look outside, and looks like maybe he was going to try and drive up there. I'm not really sure how he's going to do so, but he definitely looks like he wants to get by these two and fight up into third position. We'll see if the 25 can do so. The Waffle House number 25 gets to the inside of Warren, and this is the perfect time now that we're inside of 25, almost 20 to go. Perfect time to thank Waffle House and our other partners here for the Superior Class Auto Racing Cup Series. Waffle House, as I mentioned, Zero Bar Candy Bar, Whoppers, which, I mean, those are actually quite good. They get kind of a bad rap, but those are pretty darn good. First National Bank, 7-Up, and Dr. Pepper, which, again, I am sipping one this evening because it's good stuff as they go fighting out of turn number 2. And, Cole Ainsley, who has Dr. Pepper aboard his number 86, very sideways out of 2, hangs on to things as the Waffle House 25 fights still to the inside of the 076, of Scott Warren.
Yeah, you see David Bradford was able to clear Scott Warren for the 3rd spot. Bobby Hamilton Jr. now making work to that 076 machine of Scott Warren, trying to use that inside to his advantage. Not quite sure if he's going to be able to clear him. He might. It's going to be very close coming out of it, and he does.
And he does. I like it. Since we're getting right to this is 21, coming to 20 to go, I also want to thank our partners here at PitStop TV, Tucson Sound Art. Go to Tucson Sound Art, order your product today, and if you use code PitStopTV at checkout, you get 10% off. I mean, come on. It's 10% off of their product. They're helping you out, helping us out. Why would you not? If you are in the market for one of these things, it's basically a beautiful canvas of just any picture you want to put up on your wall that also has a Bluetooth speaker inside of it. I've got one myself now, and use it to play music all the time when I'm just chilling in my bedroom, doing whatever. It's amazing. I didn't think I would want one of these until I knew about what it was, and it's just one of the coolest products I think I've ever heard about. Of course, we also want to thank Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine. If you are in the market for any permanent makeup procedures, hit them up. At the very least, just go support those who support us, or maybe even connect, men, if you've got a lady out there that you want to hook up, like, if she's into that, whatever, you get the point. Go to Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine. They can help you out. They can get you a free consultation as well, or whatever. I'm not exactly sure about that. I probably just threw Ashley under the bus over there. Ashley Bollinger heading that operation. But we also, of course, want to thank Whiplash Media, our parent organization that puts together our camera packs, graphics, overlays, what have you. Check them out if you're in the market for any of that. As I trip over words, I need to find an English teacher, apparently, as Chris Mathis battling with Will Jones down the backstretch. Will Jones bringing the fight right back to the 18 car, Chris Mathis, and we might yet have a fight for the race win.
Yeah, it's never too soon to count Will Jones out of the equation. As we've seen over the course of the run here, he has definitely used those tires to his advantage. He's definitely been saving, and that coming into play now, he is reclaimed, I guess, almost the lead. Not really the word I was looking for there, but he has definitely come back up into the picture for the race win here. As you see, we passed, I believe that was 66 out of Cody Harger, I think. But nonetheless, they get by him with no issue. Now the battle is on to the back bumper as we're looking on the onboard roof cam of...
And now I switched it on you, but right on board now with Chris Mathis as he leads, trying to fend off 56 of Will Jones. And these are definitely the two cars to beat. Glad to see that Atlanta brings the cream to the top and is really making the best two drivers, I think, in the field fight for things this evening. Of course, tires always the talk of town when you come to Atlanta, but these guys actually have had enough tires and have run enough laps on these tires all evening long that really it's not been the biggest issue. It's really just been about track position. And I guess you want to make sure you save your tires, but as far as having sets in the pits, they have extra tires. They have too many tires. They're trying to find who they can sell them to, and it's just I'm really surprised that they wouldn't have tried to pit more, and at least in one of those two stages, try that strategy. I think it would have at least worked out to put them back on the lead lap, if not, regain them the lead or something. I was so surprised by that. Meanwhile, 14 laps to go now that time across the stripe as they fight through 1 and 2. Mathis actually gets a bit of a larger gap now to Will Jones, as Bradford is going to try and fight back into things. Warren has since fallen into 5th.
Yeah, Bobby Hamilton Jr. sitting comfortably in the 4th spot. Hasn't really done much other than that. We've kind of seen him just being in the top 5 most of the night. Kind of been quiet. We've seen him get loose a little bit. But a very good run tonight for Bobby Hamilton Jr. For sure. Scott Warren, as you see, he had a little bit of a mix-up there. And David Bradford having a good night, running in the top 3 most of the night. And then we see, obviously, Will Jones and Chris Mathis being the class of the field tonight, for sure. And just putting on an absolute clinic. These guys have put on a blast. The racing has been fun. And, within the next 12 laps, I expect it to get pretty heated and a close battle. Hopefully, we'll see these top 4 battling for the win.
You know what would actually be really cool? If right now a caution flag happened. Just don't care what it's for. Somebody could just get a little bit out of shape. Bring these guys back together. Let's have a fight with the whole field again, because that was the most exciting stuff we've had all evening. We've always had a battle on screen at some point, and I'm really surprised by that alone, that these guys have been all over one another. But a great battle here at the end would be amazing, and it would certainly make the highlight reel for the season, although they might still figure it out on this long run, because Will Jones actually is suddenly back on the rear bumper cover of the 18 of Chris Mathis. I didn't think they'd come back together, but here come all 4 of them once more.
Yeah, definitely having John Boraquez there.
It's a tough name, don't feel bad.
Definitely threw a rod in it there for a second. But as you see, David Bradford trying to make a run. They're all going to get up to the bumper. Bobby Hamilton Jr. slightly out of the mix. Will Jones going to get right up to the bumper of Chris Mathis and fall off just slightly. David Bradford going to get up to the back bumper of Will Jones. Not going to make much of that move yet. They're going to stay single file. Bobby Hamilton Jr. catches back up to David Bradford, and the gap stays about the same.
Coming to 9 laps to go this evening. It's Chris Mathis, Will Jones. We've got David Bradford up here, and that's your top 3. But Bobby Hamilton is just kind of hanging on to things, hanging on to this front battle. And honestly, any one of these guys can make a mistake. He can get up into 3rd, maybe even 2nd. Or if they all have a mistake, if they all get to battling, don't put it past this 25 car to get up there and sneak away with a victory this evening at Atlanta Motor Speedway. It was Cole Ansley last week at Daytona. He's currently riding in the 8th position. Remember, he had that penalty from just winning, that he had to start from the rear, could not qualify, had to start 23rd. And the fact that he fought up into the top 5 at one point, pretty remarkable, and he's fallen back to 8th, but still a great night for him. No stage points, though, so that's going to hinder his progress this season. McMullen up ahead of him. You've got Jason Spears still hanging on to things. He's in 6th. Scott Warren has fallen back to 5th, and then they still battle ahead.
Yeah, we saw off-screen there a little, or actually we didn't see off-screen, but off-screen we had a slight change for the lead in between 1 and 2. Looked like Will Jones went to the high side, claimed the lead, as he's going to go to the bottom side this time. Try to pull a slider here. Doesn't look like he's going to get it done. Chris Mathis going to surge to the outside. David Bradford almost up to the wall as he's going to push Will Jones down, and he's going to claim the 2nd spot.
That was a great block out of Mathis to keep that 56 behind him, but it was almost an incident. It was almost a crash, honestly, into turn 1. It works out for him for now, though, as Will Jones falls into 3rd. I wonder what Will thinks of that one as he falls into the clutches of Bobby Hamilton for now. So can David Bradford muster something up in the final 6 laps, get up to the back end of Chris Mathis and do something with it? Because it's been relatively easy to catch somebody, but it's so hard to pass them as they pass the Waffle House 55 of Jeff Napier down the backstretch. And man, David Bradford has his work cut out for him. He's just got to get to the back end of Mathis and then find a way to get by him. It's so tough to do, but that's the only thing standing between him and a race win.
As you see, he gets a heck of a run going to turn 1. He's going to blip the throttle a little bit there so he can try and set up for a good run on the outside line. Looks like he's going to get that.
Almost gets the fence.
Yeah, almost hit the wall there. But looks like Mathis is going to use that to his advantage. He's going to surge ahead. And right behind him, we have Will Jones still trying to fall back into the clutches of David Bradford.
Down the front stretch, 4 laps to go. You see they're catching another lapped car into turn 1. We'll see how this sorts out. The lap car now going to go to the bottom side. Going to really shake things up amongst this top 4. Boraquez is exiting the pit lane. This lap car is Vincent Short in the 015. He finally gets up out of the way and I think has a little better tires than these guys. Actually was able to hold on ahead of them. But coming to 3 laps to go this time by in this top 3, no movement within one another. It's at this point on these old tires, it's going to be even harder to muster up a run and pass somebody. Bradford with a big run out of 4, though, almost got to the outside of Mathis. 3 to go.
Yeah, watching this, correct me if I'm wrong. I think I recall that Bradford and Mathis are teammates. Just from what I can recollect from Daytona.
Sounds right, but I'm not totally certain, yeah.
But definitely, if that is the case, teammates putting on a heck of a show tonight. And I wonder if, maybe Bradford might put the bumper to Mathis to maybe, do a clean bump and run, maybe not take him out, but, definitely move him out of the way. But definitely if I'm Will Jones, I'm hoping that happens because then he's just going to fall right into the position. As you see, they're side by side for the lead. Will Jones right on the inside. Mathis going to block that run on the outside.
1.5 laps to go as David Bradford has gotten to Chris Mathis, but then Will Jones got to him. Side by side through 3 and 4. Will Jones gets tight, falls out of this. Out of turn number 4 for the penultimate time, rather. The white flag flies on Chris Mathis and David Bradford side by side. Mathis gets loose into 1. Now they fight side by side again. Right to the quarter panel of the 46 was the 18 of Mathis. Even dead heat out of turn 2, a wobble out of the 46 down the backstretch for the final time they go. Chris Mathis trying to hang on to the race lead. Bradford trying to take it away. It's the last lap at Atlanta Motor Speedway out of turn number 4. Drag race to the start-finish line. It's David Bradford. What a race. What a move.
Wow. See, I wasn't actually sure if they made contact there because it was definitely very close. I don't know if Mathis got loose or if there was a little bit of contact, but that was a spectacular finish.
Incredible stuff. You see the respects paid between these two, and wow, I'm so surprised that on that long run, all it took was one move to the outside, and Chris Mathis had the fight cut out for him, and David Bradford finally doesn't even quite clear him to win this thing, but finally gets by him enough to win at Atlanta. You see Bobby Hamilton Jr. there as well. He claims a 4th place finish this evening, but wow, what a run for David Bradford. Just what a finish. What a way to get it done.
Absolutely. Especially passing him on the outside. I mean, just power move. He was making that outside work for the last couple laps, and you see he made it happen there at the end. And the end result, we are watching him burn it down here at Atlanta.
David Bradford going to light those rear tires up on the, looks like Quality Plumbing possibly, and Dr. Pepper number 46 Chevrolet Camaro. I wish you could actually claim a checkered flag and drive it around this place because it would be well-deserved after that battle with Chris Mathis. As is usual, though, we'll take our post-race break, and we'll be right back to you here at PitStop TV. Don't go anywhere. We have post-race coverage on the way. We'll be talking to each of the top 3 here very, very shortly.
Sound art is a product that is a speaker and it's art. We combine it together and we call it sound art. What makes it so unique that any picture can be your speaker? SoundArc gives you the high quality sound without the ugly speaker. This isn't a picture with the speaker, the picture is the speaker. Just imagine your wedding picture uploaded onto a canvas, and now it's speaking 10,000 tunes. I mean, it's a very cool concept. What we like so much about it that you can take anything that means something very special to you, upload it on the canvas, have it hanging up in your room, your balcony, wherever you want to put it, and now it's a speaker. I mean, how cool is that? It's something that we have that and no one has. No one has this product. It's just a great gift to give anybody. It's just a neat concept. Around here we say, art never sounded so good.
We welcome you back to Atlanta Motor Speedway. You'll see the slow-mo replay of these guys battling it out at the end of the Superior Class Auto Racing race number 2 at Atlanta Motor Speedway. We had a great finish at Daytona 2 weeks ago. Another great, exciting, thrilling finish here at Atlanta to just continue this streak, and hopefully we haven't gotten too far ahead of ourselves. Hopefully it continues on. It's going to be tough to do 3 races in a row, but I think these guys can do it. Regardless, let's talk to the guys who did just do it. And Trey, I'm going to give you race winner David Bradford once again because that was amazing.
Spectacular. Like, hands down. You know, you only led 4 laps tonight, and you led the last one that mattered. So from what I gotta see, or from what I gotta hear, I guess, was there contact made, or did he just get loose?
Coming to the white, he said we got together a little bit, and he looked at it and he said he kind of, if anything, came up into me, but I saw him get swirly in the mirror, and I just kind of thought it was net code, or he spun it up a 4 or something like that, and was just able to wheel it up there inside of me still. Because I know him, he's a wheelman, and you know, if there was anything he could have done different besides wreck me, he'd have done it to win the race.
Absolutely. Just so I can get the record straight here, are you and Chris teammates? Because I remember thinking I heard that, but I wasn't quite sure.
Well, golf teammates were really good friends, though. You know, he driving a Ford, I'm driving a Chevy, so
right,
kind of teammates. But you know, if I can cut him a break somewhere, I will. Somewhere along the race, as long as it's, you know, not 10 to go or something like that. That's my definition of a teammate, I guess, is I'll cut him a break at some point in the race if he needs it.
Right, absolutely. But I remember saying I expected you to maybe use the bumper if you had the opportunity to, but none. I mean, it looked like, you know, it could have been some contact. You know, obviously not intentional, but it worked out in your favor as there was a drag race to the finish, and you were the one that ended up on top.
Yeah, the car was really good in 3 and 4. I could really get back to the gas hard down in 3 and 4. I felt like everybody was kind of even through 1 and 2, but down in 3 and 4, I felt like I was lifting a little bit earlier than them guys. Was really able to get back to the gas quick. And just ran it close to the line as we could. I knew once I got out there, I would much rather be up on the outside on that older tires. And the car was still slipping and sliding a ton down in 1 and 2. I don't know how he didn't wreck off too, because I had my hands full. I'm pretty sure he did as well. But down to 3 and 4, man, the car was really good down there. I just saved just the right amount, I guess.
Yeah, we were watching everybody slip and slide out of turn 2. But, you obviously saved enough tires to work it in 3 and 4. And how's it feel to, already have a win in the season this early on?
Well, it's good to get it up out of the way, but I want to win as many as I can, One's not enough, 4, 5, 7, 12, however many I can win is what I'm going to win. And, just keep on hammering with these guys. I felt like that was a really good race by everybody. Not a whole lot of cautions. I mean, the guys have really picked up their efforts. You're starting to see people up at the front that weren't up at the front before, so we've got guys practicing and trying to get up there and be competitive with us, because this is the top dog league for us here, and everybody wants to get up here and say they won one of these races.
Yeah, you guys definitely put on a clinic. I had an absolute blast watching it. Just superb racing, rather, by everybody in the Superior Class Auto Racing Series. I can't wait to cover you guys for the next race. And while I got you in here, who makes it happen for you for the win, man?
Oh, definitely Bobby and Aaron and those guys that put all this on with me. We stay hammering at it, ways to make it better. Dad, uncle, sister, everybody watching at home. I don't know if Charlie's watching, but hey to him too. And of course, all those guys that were Quality Septic on the car, they worked their butts off at the shop, so I can go out and have fun with stuff like this.
Well, you definitely put on a show for all those guys and gals, and hopefully we'll be talking to you a lot more throughout the rest of the season. That is David Bradford, our race winner.
Thanks, guys.
Of course, we also talk to the other half of that battle as you see it in slow-mo on your screen. You saw the contact a lap ago as well. And we'll bring Chris Mathis in here. And Chris, it was really your race all evening long. You started up front, you got right to the lead, and you battled with each and every contender to the bitter end. And it eventually ends up being David Bradford, I guess a very close friend, teammate, if you will, that ends up beating you in a last couple of laps move. I don't really want to say last lap, but tell us about that contact down the front stretch and then him barely beating you the lap after.
He was able to get up to the outside of me. The contact, I think it was just a little net coat or something. I mean, I definitely felt it. He didn't feel it, but I mean, hell, I can't fault him on that. I mean, it is what it is. All he had to do is get the bigger circle, with the worn out tires. He was going to go by me. Thought I was going to be able to beat him to the line, but he was half a car length, and it was just a drag race. I didn't have nothing else. But that was a good win. I mean, if anybody's going to beat me, I'd rather him beat me. So,
hey, that's a pretty good way to look at it, especially after leading all but 30 laps, and you still come up just a little bit short. But we go to Indianapolis next week, and we've had Daytona, now Atlanta. Very different racetracks. Indy, again, very different, very unique. How do you think you stack up there, especially now that we've gotten to see these guys and how they stack up in a place like Atlanta?
I think it's going to be the same running order as now. I mean, you can see the same people up front. I mean, really anybody can come up there. I mean, there are some guys who are better on flat tracks and stuff like that, and on these mile and a halves, just wide open draft, and I mean, some guys they just can't do it.
Speaking of being relatively wide open and drafting all night long, tell us about how it was from the driver's seat to have to try and conserve those tires and make it through a run, and about how worn out they were at the end of each of those stages.
That last one, I think we had a caution. It was like 40 to go, and I just said I was going to go. I was going to take off and hope I got enough, and David fell back to probably 8/10, and when you're the leader, I mean, you can't just let off the throttle. People's going to run you over. And I kept on looking at my relative, seeing where he was at. And I seen he had a gap and a cushion behind the wheel. And I knew what he was doing. He was saving. Just what I said at the beginning of the race, save tires. And I just shot myself in the foot. I can't blame nobody but myself, dude. That was one of the best races I've had.
Well, Chris, of course, we thank you for your time. We talked to you after you won Stage 1. You come just short in Stage 2. And then, again, equally short, I feel like, there at the end of the race. It was great to watch you guys go at it. You see the replay actually on everybody's screen right now of the contact on the front stretch. Who do you have to shout out? Who do you have to thank this evening for what was honestly, again, your race? Led 133 laps.
Well, thank you guys for putting on such a good broadcast. Bobby, David, Will, everybody who's a part of the league. I mean, we've really got a good core group of guys. We had one caution that was for a wreck. I mean, how can you get better than that in Atlanta?
Yeah, we didn't know what to expect, of course, and we are definitely very impressed by the fact that it was clean and green all night long, save that one big incident into one. Chris, again, thanks for your time, and I'm sure we'll be talking to you a whole lot more this season, be it for stage wins, race wins, what have you. We'll see you in Indianapolis next week.
All right, man. You guys take it easy.
You as well, and that's Chris Mathis. Honestly, probably should have had the win this evening. Trey ends up just short, finishing second place to his buddy David Bradford in what was honestly one of the best finishes that we've had oval track racing here on PitStop TV. But you've got third place finisher Will Jones.
Hey, Will, it's Trey up in the booth. You got a copy.
Yeah, I got you, Trey.
So we saw you win stage 2. You were probably one of the fastest guys on the track tonight. You were on everybody's radar. And after that heartbreak of that pit stop, you found yourself charging up through the field and ended up third. I was wondering if you had enough tires to make it back up to the lead. We saw you try at it a few times. Just did you burn them up too quick?
No, I had earlier in the race, I was getting into turn 3, and the guy behind me kind of hit me in the rear end and kind of crinkled my right rear up a little bit. And then when I wheel hopped on pit road, I got some left front damage. And I think that would kind of made my car a little bit tighter on the long run. On fresh tires, it was okay, so I was able to keep pace with them, but I just couldn't. The car wouldn't cut good enough for me to make a pass stick. But if I hadn't had that damage, I think I could have made it a little bit more interesting. But it is what it is. I'm happy to come out with a third with the incidents I had.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely put on a show and had a heck of a race. You fell back to, I think you were about 13th or so, and then made it up into the top 10 within 2 laps, and then made it back up to the top 3. You finished third. So what can we expect? Will we see you next week at Indy since you're running part-time?
Possibly. I'm just kind of going to try to run the tracks that I like. And it just depends on what I got going on next weekend. A lot of times Sundays are real busy for me, so sometimes I don't race. We do a lot of family things on Sunday, so that just kind of cuts into my family time because I work a lot. So
yeah, family time definitely takes charge there. But nonetheless, I do expect to see a lot from you whenever you do show up to race, and I think you might be able to get one or a couple.
Yeah, I've been with the Scar ever since it started. I mean, I've got some wins and had a lot of good races, and I mean, it's a good group of guys. I just, if it was on any other night but Sunday night, I'd definitely run full time. And it just depends, man. Most of the tracks that I can run, I'm going to try to run. So I mean, I'm not going to say it's going to be almost a full time season, but I'm going to run a lot of the races.
Well, we are definitely looking forward to the rest of the season and seeing you back in action. But third place, definitely a good way to start the season off for you for missing Daytona last week and definitely running part-time. Anybody you want to shout out tonight for your third place finish?
Yeah, I want to thank Bobby and David for, like I say, putting on the league. They run a tight ship over here, and they do a good job. Like I say, I wish it wasn't on Sunday nights. That way I could run a full season with those guys, because all these guys in here are good guys, man. They like family. But, thank y'all for the broadcast. Appreciate what y'all do. You do a great job. And like I say, we'll probably see you next week at Indy.
Well, we look forward to that, and we appreciate the kind words. And hopefully we'll be talking to you later on in the season, and hopefully we can catch you in victory lane one of these days.
Yeah, man. Hope so. And y'all take it easy. We'll catch y'all next week.
All right, you as well, man. That is Will Jones, our third place finisher.
And as I always say, it's always good to talk to these drivers after the fact and catch up, get their thoughts on things and whatnot. And these interviews definitely did not disappoint, much like the race. I mean, how can you argue with that kind of finish? You have 40-some-odd laps, drive to the end of a long green flag run, and somehow it's still decided in the final half mile. I mean, that is quintessential good Atlanta racing. We haven't seen that in quite some time, I feel like, here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. It's certainly been a second since those classics with Dale Earnhardt, Bobby Labonte, Jeff Gordon, Kevin Harvick come to mind, but that was an amazing way for everything to play out, and certainly did not disappoint this evening. A great follow-up to a great finish at Daytona for sure. Trey, of course, we've been talking a lot about this top three, but how about the rest of the field? Of course, we see here Bobby Hamilton Jr. rolls up, finishes 4th position. A great night for him, just wasn't quite fast enough to contend for the race win when it came down to it. He was great all night long, just I think about a 4th place finish is about right for him. Scott Warren ends up 5th place after a great run in the late goings. Jason Spears 6th. Thomas McMullen into 7th place after an up and down evening as well, but he always hovered right around 6th and 7th. Colt Ansley recovers into 8th after what was actually a pretty good run, and then he started to slide back. Hangs on to 8th spot. Tommy DeAngelo, the final car, on the lead lap, 18 seconds back in 9th place, and Steve Murdoch, the first lapped car, in 10th position.
And finishing 11th, we have Jeff Napier. And then Cody Harger was the last car to finish 1 lap down in 12th. John Boraquez, we saw him lap car most of the race, finish 5 laps down. Chris Johnson finished 8 laps down in 14th. Vincent Short finishes 15th, 25 laps down. Hayes Booth, as we saw, got caught up in that incident earlier on in the race, finishes 48 laps down, along with 17th place finisher Mickey Spear. Mark Truxell, early on, we saw him up front, finishes 18th, 49 laps down, and Will Hewitt finishes 50 laps down in 19th, along with Alan DeFries in 20th, also 50 laps down.
The back few cars, just Justin Napier, 89 laps down, Fred Strawich in 22nd, 137 laps down, and finally Terry McFarlane with an early exit after his spin down the back stretch, 142 laps down to race winner David Bradford. What a race. So we're going to be talking about this one, I think, for a while when it comes to our follow-ups here, or I guess I don't even know what to say. Just when it comes to referring back to the start of this season, for sure, I think this is a race that's going to be talked about for a little while, at least among us and the rest of the league. I mean, that was everything you can ask for from Atlanta Motor Speedway. It made things really, really exciting all night long. We had battles all 163 laps. We've thanked plenty of people throughout the evening, but we got to thank them all again, because Waffle House, First Verizon Bank, Whoppers, Zero Bar Candy Bar, Dr. Pepper, and 7-Up are big supporters. They pour their heart and souls into the Superior Class Auto Racing Cup Series, and we can't thank them enough for their support of the league. We also want to thank our personal partners, of course, Tucson Sound Art, your picture, your music. You provide the image you want, and we'll custom create a beautiful framed high-quality canvas with a built-in Bluetooth speaker. With Sound Art, you get the best of both worlds. Visit TucsonSoundArt.com for additional info and enter code PitStop TV for 10% off at checkout. Of course, we also need to thank Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine, and they're great supporters of us, so at the very least, go support them, because when it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy. And at Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine, the owner, Ashley Bollier, is a certified micropigmentation specialist who provides professional, safe, and personalized services. You can contact Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine at permanentmakeupinmaine.com or call or text them at 207-358-8683. Usually when you think about permanent makeup, you think about procedures, eyebrows, what have you, but also cryotherapy is a big thing at Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine, so check them out for that as well, because that is also very useful. It literally freezes fat right off you, and by all means, check them out. It's a big thing they do. Again, that phone number is 207-358-8683. The website, permanentmakeupinmaine.com, or you can go to the Facebook page, Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine. Again, that is Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine, and using the ampersand. Finally, of course, Whiplash Media, PitStop TV's new parent organization, which specializes in various sim racing resources, including paint schemes, stream overlays, iRacing, camera packs, and more. Whiplash Media is also working on its presence in real racing, offering services such as photography, social media management, and public relations. Go to whiplash-media.com for more, and you can also look into some of the articles we have going up on whiplash-media.com, written by, well, so far just Noah Carmichael, but the rest of the crew, I think, is getting in on that. He's actually got a real article up as well about the NHRA and their unfortunate falling out with Coca-Cola, and you can read all about it over at whiplash-media.com /PitStop Insider. You can also read his reviews that he's done so far about leagues that we've had. I think just Bluegrass at this point, but I think he's been writing about a whole lot more because he's pretty darn good at it. I think the rest of the crew is going to get in some regard. That will, of course, conclude our coverage, though, of the Superior Class Auto Racing Cup Series at Atlanta Motor Speedway. We at PitStop TV thank you for tuning in and joining us for tonight's action, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. Be sure to join us again for 3 nights of action this week, including the Northwest GT3 Challenge, round number 2 at Brands Hatch, Operation E Motorsport at Indianapolis, and the Bluegrass iRacing Series at Talladega. The Superior Class Auto Racing Series carries on next week from Indianapolis Motor Speedway for 200 miles on the virtual yard of bricks. Make sure to follow us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/PitStopTV, on Twitter at PitStopTV_, on Twitch at www.twitch.tv/Pit_Stop_TV, and on YouTube by searching PitStop TV, or by going to www.youtube.com/C/PitStopTV1. For all of PitStop TV, we had Trey Patton alongside me on the mic, Trey Shuttlesworth on social media, Emerson Arden on the insert camera that you saw this evening as well. I am Andrew Cardinale IV for PitStop TV, and we will see you next time. Have a wonderful evening.
Sound art is a product that is a speaker and it's art. We combine it together and we call it sound art. What makes it so unique that any picture can be your speaker? Sound art gives you the high quality sound without the ugly speaker. This isn't a picture with a speaker, the picture is the speaker. Just Just imagine your wedding picture uploaded onto a canvas, and now it's speaking 10,000 tunes. I mean, it's a very cool concept. What we like so much about it that you can take anything that means something very special to you, upload it on the canvas, have it hanging up in your room, your balcony, wherever you want to put it, and now it's a speaker. I mean, how cool is that? It's something that we have that and no one has. No one has this product. It's just a great gift to give anybody. It's just a neat concept. Around here we say, art never sounded so good.